It's time.
We're live?
We are live.
I think so. I mean, live, like recorded. It's a live as this podcast is getting at the moment, but
yeah.
you know.
So we made it. It's a late evening.
Yeah.
On a good Wednesday.
Yes. And by the looks of our timer, we're probably going past midnight with this recording. So pretty fun.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
But we're ready, you know?
Yeah. So welcome to episode 2 of Juice Brush. It's going to be a fun episode. Little TLDR. It's going to be an episode mostly focused about both of us, our journey, but more in detail. We kind of gave you all like a little snippet just so you kind of knew who we are going into this podcast. But now we're going to go the more detailed version and really kind of like, you know, talk about our experiences and maybe even what we do differently in the future. And we also have a little fun segment at the end where we're going to get to talk about a show we both love called Shogun.
Yeah.
So that's going to be awesome. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into it. So our life story and how we became Batman.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
The Dark Rise.
Yeah.
The Dark Rise of the Night Boy.
We both have to become what we fear most. Art, apparently.
Yes,
so,
I am art.
Art, man.
I am art ascending.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What was your journey like? Like, let's
start.
Let's get a more detailed version of Sean. Like, who is Sean? Why Sean? And where Sean?
Why Sean? I'm still struggling with that one.
Why Sean?
But to actually elaborate on your point, I just for the audience, this is a good chance to really paint the picture of where we started as artists. And sorry to butcher the start, but
no, you're good.
We really want to show you guys, you know, where we started, what we went through, and the people we became to, have the jobs we have. Personally, I really like when the podcasts that I listen to share their journeys in detail. It gives a bit more credibility, and it just fleshes out the people you're listening to a bit more. So, yeah, let's get this episode going and see what we can talk about. So I remember telling you that this was kind of like the UHD 4K version.
Yeah, UHD 4K
of the origin story we said in the intro.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go for it.
So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Why not?
Let's do it.
So yeah, my origin story. And sorry guys if I'm a bit low energy. I just came off training and long day, so we'll keep it really slow today.
I think that'll be perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just letting you guys know. Yeah. So my origin story, or when I look back at myself as a child, a poor boy, I was quite, I would say, I had maybe a bit of trouble finding my place as a kid. So I remember being, you know, a bit confused, let's say, when I was entering elementary school. And it was one of those weird moments in your life that kind of defines what you really love. I got lucky to have a teacher that had an art project, and there was this, I think it was like a Lion King contest thing where everyone drew like a different picture. I chose Lion King, and I remember for some reason I felt really captivated to like render the shit, pardon my French, out of the Lion King, or what's the Lion King called again?
Simba. I think.
There you go.
I mean, technically there's like the dad beforehand that I think Scar kills, and then Simba's like, yo, that's not cool, and then falls in love with like another lioness.
Yes.
And there's like a pig and a meerkat.
This is the best summary I've ever heard.
And there's also somebody gets lifted into the air over a cliff. Again, not in the right order.
That is also a great point.
Yeah. Run down to the Lion King, everybody. There you go. Now you've heard it from here.
Lifted above a cliff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, not to so to stay on point. Sorry guys, I'm really like, if I can use this word properly, I'm really spent today. I basically found a focus for myself when I was at home and I had nothing to do, and it was art. So I remember doing this really, really detailed piece of The Lion King when, I don't know, I think I was like 9 or something. And I don't know, for some reason, it felt really like natural to go full focus mode and just like pour so much time into it. And I remember the response I got was really what set me on my journey. And it was like, oh my God, like, look at your son. He did this crazy drawing. And I was just like, whoa, like, I didn't know that spending a lot of time on a drawing would get me like a lot of, quote unquote praise.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I guess
it started young for you, that passion.
Super young.
The fuel really started early on.
The direction, the shift in my life started really, really young. And I think we'll get to yours, but I think our stories are very different and similar at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, I kind of, and this might be something that is just like, oh, I learned it early, but focus for me wasn't a problem. I remember being, between age 8 and 12, spending, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours without a break, just rendering like Power Rangers.
Good choice. I mean, Power Rangers are a good choice.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite?
I just found it captivating that for me, I think I saw the Power Ranger cover and I tried to copy it.
Okay.
And I was just really fascinated. I was like, you know what? I think it'd be awesome if I just like made it look exactly like it looked. And so, yeah, it just for some reason was at the time the coolest thing ever to me.
Now that I know this, I'm expecting a up-to-date Power Ranger piece.
Yeah, if I can find the old one, I just like
but I want to do it like an
after.
Before after. I want to see like those like you used to see online. People are like, back when I was 9, and then like now when I'm 30. So do Power Rangers again. I need to see
I'll
that.
render it. I won't improve it. I'll actually just render the poorly drawn Power Ranger. I'll do it like that because I see those online as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So basically, I found this super focus ability, which was really really great, and I received a lot of praise. I think this is something that a lot of people who want to do concept art, it's something where like some people they become the art kid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
For me, I pretty much that sums up my entire existence when I was a kid. I was just like the art kid.
Yeah.
So much so that like it's such a funny thing. I'll get a bit honest, but like I was not the most popular kid in school. And a lot of time, I wasn't treated very nice, AKA, not the coolest kid, whatever. But whenever I drew something, everyone who treated me like crap was like, "Oh my God, they're like, you're so cool, oh my God." And it would last maybe, 10 minutes. Yeah. And then I'd be,
So it felt good.
Yeah, it was really strange. And yeah, I don't know if anyone relates to this out there. It's a very weird identity to have. It's like, I feel really great about my art, but like it's kind of like maybe something I attached to when I was really young.
Yeah.
So my origin story kind of was born by those moments. And sorry, how am I doing, Nick?
You're doing fine.
Okay, great.
Just keep opening up. Tell them all the secrets.
Okay. Secret time. Yeah, sorry guys. I'm really, it's a weird headspace for me today, but we're going to get through this.
I mean, we're also getting personal, so it's, it's a little.
Yeah. Where's the Kleenex box?
Don't start crying.
Is there a Kleenex box? Oh, it's really far.
It's too early. Like what was it? I think the cue for crying was at 10:30. Okay. So you got to hold it in for at lead another hour.
I'll try. Tears be coming. Yeah. So going from there, I had sort of it was like I needed to kind of uphold this, I'm the best artist in the world kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That's a weird feeling, but it kind of helped me on my journey to be a professional. Funny enough, now that I kind of look back, I remember being in high school and sort of having that view of like, oh yeah, I'm the best artist here. And I think things didn't really change until I decided to, and I think this is what everyone goes through, especially people who are known as the art kid. You're like, okay, well, I want to take this serious. Like, people keep telling me, yeah, man, you should do something with your art. And you're like, yeah, of course, of course. But then you're just, you're not really sure where to go. This was like, I think the year was 2009. So concept art wasn't really as known as now. YouTube was kind of in its, chocolate rain phase.
Yeah.
So I think the best we could find at the time was like Nomon, and maybe Feng Zhu started to appear.
Yeah, because so you started during kind of like the Feng Zhu boom, right? Like that was like starting to pop up a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, just for like context for people. So like a lot of times artists, at least in the concept art space, we boom in different periods of trends. So before both of us, there was like another art stage. Okay, so just to get super specific here for a second, we post our art on something that's called ArtStation. It's a very like popular platform. Mostly everybody posts their stuff there. A lot of job postings are there. It's like the place for concept artists, 3D artists for the most part at the moment. Before that, I forget what it was. I think it was conceptart.org.
Yeah.
So before both of us,
like
a lot of the
forums.
older kind of like generation of concept artists, there was this forum place where some of like the big names like Jamie Jones, Craig Mullins.
Craig
and
Mullins
people
was
like
there, yeah.
Yeah, so like those names would be in a place called conceptart.org. And then within that, you have like different phases. So you kind of started when there was a Feng Zhu boom. Feng Zhu is an artist and also started the Feng Zhu School of Design in Singapore. And that was like a huge boom in concept art because he was posting so many tutorials. There was a lot of this like speed painting and kind of like these kind of new techniques to do cool environments very fast. So that kind of like took it by storm. And then I think I was around the Naughty Dog boom. So there was like, I guess another big kind of shift where you have this stuff like, what is it? You had Aton, you had Shaddy, you had, who are the other Naughty Dog people that were kind of doing the workflow at the time? There was
The workflow, there's John Sweeney,
Nick,
Jindro, Aaron.
Nick Grindle, yeah. So
Sorry if we forgot names.
yeah, sorry.
You guys are awesome, by the way.
Yeah. So that was around the time I started or getting into it, was that big boom because I got in because I watched that Shaddy video. So that was about the period I started in. And I would say like, now the next generation is going through a huge 3D boom, right? The Blender kind of,
Oh, yeah.
the Blender world is like the next kind of boom of what concept art is. So there's like all these kind of like phases. So it's kind of funny. We started in different phases, I guess, booms of concept art.
Exactly. Yeah, concept art went through a lot of evolution since the 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Looking back, there's all these milestones of quality that concept arts were achieving since then.
Yeah.
Now it's a bit insane. We can get into that later for sure. But looking back, yeah, it's crazy how much resources have appeared since then.
A lot of the stuff, by the way, like if we glance over it quickly, like we do have plans to really go more in depth on these topics and stuff like that. So seriously, like don't stress. We will be covering this stuff. We just don't want to like bog down the current topic, which is what's the focus for this episode.
Yeah. We'll make it through this origin story, I promise. So yeah, getting to the moment that I think a lot of you out there probably experience, there might be some of you who are thinking, okay, I have to make a choice. I love art. I might be the art kid. My parents are like, maybe you should do something more practical. There's always that decision of, okay, well, what do I do? And at that point, at the time, I decided to enter a college that was more of like an illustration / design. It was actually called illustration design.
Yeah. That was at Dawson, right?
Exactly. Dawson College in Montreal.
Yeah.
So that was more of I wanted something to kind of ease me into potential jobs. Cause at the time concept art was like, it was like, I want to do concept art, but it wasn't as clear cut as today. Yeah. Today it's like, you can get a job by following tutorials if you're that passionate and that focused, which, I know a lot of people who've done that. At the time, it wasn't as clear cut. So basically, I took a 3-year program. I got introduced to digital painting, which was really, really cool. I was still a bit confused, I'll be honest. Like, I had maybe for every digital painting class, there was 9 or 10 other classes that had nothing to do with concept art. So if any of you are considering, you're like, I want to be a concept artist, definitely check out the curriculum of, these universities or colleges that you want to go into. It could seem like this is like the perfect direction, but sometimes in my case, maybe it would have been better if I went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did what I did, but always do the research, I would say.
There's a lot of great schools out there that specialize. Like, for example, you wouldn't go to Sheraton if you want to do concept art. They specialize in animation. Sheraton's like a fantastic school in Toronto. But again, animation, if you're concept art, that's not really the place you want to go to. There's tons of concept art schools out there. There's like New Age, Brainstorms in Studio, Art Center. Like the list goes on.
Exactly.
Online platforms, CGMA, Learn Squared. Like if you're interested in concept art and illustration, like there's places for that, and they're going to help you a lot more than just going somewhere random and you have to learn how to do typography randomly or
just in like weird sculpting class, and they're like,
yeah.
Feel your feelings out. And you're like, okay, well, is this going to like help me with my job?
Yeah. So how do I problem solve for the client? Oh, just feel it out.
Like, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a bit easier nowadays. There's like, we're in a tutorial age of, how do you get from point A to point Z? It's really easy to do that, but definitely worth doing. So yeah, basically, if I go back to the story, I was surrounded by some concept artists at the school at the time. And we were learning, from Feng Zhu, from all these teachers, online, of course, on our side time. It was one of those things where we weren't sure how to make it, but we had some content. So we'd learn speed painting, techniques, digital painting techniques. There were maybe around like 4 or 5 of us who were really dedicated to concept art out of like a group of maybe 30 or 35. So it was cool. Like for me, what really helped me in the beginning is finding like-minded individuals who had that same passion.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it made it so, okay, there's some guy, I remember I met a guy, actually on the first day, I was perplexed by him. He's a really good guy, great friend. He was showing his concept art digital painting as we were going in for the trials to get into the program. And for me, I was like, I'd never left doing pencil. Like I never did it. So for me, that was really inspiring, seeing a guy that was like, had all this like work done. I saw like mechs, I saw like sci-fi buildings, all that kind of stuff. Super new to me. And yeah, looking back, it's like, it was amazing to be able to talk to these people and have all these questions answered. Like, okay, that's actually something I could do. So yeah, that was a huge help to me, finding people that are like-minded and had the same goal. I don't know if you've had the same experience, finding people so you're not
definitely
only alone.
Definitely later on. That was around the Sin Studio time for me. But yeah, definitely later on, that's a huge part. Obviously, I met you as well. Like being able to make friends, find other concept artists is like one of the most valuable things you could do, honestly. Like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're not trying to meet other people and connect. Whether even if it's just like, you're not necessarily connecting to get jobs, but it's like just having that network of people that you can rely on, ask for feedback, have like a more like objective eye on your work is like so important.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always like say, hey man, like what do you think of my painting? And then they'll be like, oh, it's really cool, maybe do this. Yeah. And it just creates like a nice supportive environment for improving. It's irreplaceable.
But your education didn't stop at Dawson, right?
No, yeah, we're continuing the story.
Continuing? Okay.
Hopefully I'm not bogging down on subjects too much. Just want to kind of go through each kind of step in the evolution just so it makes sense.
Yeah, you want to go from Charmander to Charizard. I get you.
Yeah. I want to be like,
That's
I don't know how Pokemon evolve.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't do that. It's like
bones start to crack.
It's like a little flashing light and it's like dun 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 dun. Like there's like little music playing. There's no bone cracking. It's a game for kids. Like there's no bone cracking.
We need a bone cracking version. I want it. Make it like, Netflix.
It's like M-rated Pokemon.
M-rated like Frankenstein version.
So disgusting.
I know.
just deforming. Wings are like pushing out of their. Oh my god.
Yeah, and Ash is like, yeah. He's just like, yes. Wow, what a tangent. Yeah, so back to the meeting people at this college. yeah, huge step I find in my journey. From there, this is when things start to really pick up. I think, and apology if the story is a bit long, this is the real meat of the story.
Unacceptable.
Should we just stop?
Just end the podcast right now. It's over.
Okay, great. Yeah. Whew, all right. Yeah, so getting back to the meat. When I left Dawson, and this is something that maybe some of you have experienced or may experience, having a curriculum is great. You can kind of rest in it, almost like you're in a little, cocoon, and when you get out, you're like, I'm gonna fly.
Yeah.
What usually happens is you don't. So in my case, I didn't really go anywhere after I graduated. What happened was I got hired to do t-shirts. Yeah. So I got really lucky, actually. Someone was at the vernissage and was like, hey, really like your stuff. Here's my card. And I got the job in a matter of maybe a week.
Oh, damn.
So
what was that?
Not concept art, but money. So for artists, happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Once I know the money, especially starting out. So it's something.
Yeah, definitely. So it was a weird moment because basically, and this is a huge pivotal point in, let's say, if you want to become a concept artist and be a professional, is making your own path. Like you have to become the master of your own boat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because when you're on the cruise, which is college or like a university, you're like, oh, they're going to take us places and we're going to try different foods. But for you to really become a professional, I personally believe that even if you're in a school, maybe it's a 3-year school and they're like, yeah, we'll make you amazing. You still need to be like, even though I'm on a cruise, I still have my own boat and I know how to steer myself to the promised land or whatever you want to call it.
You need to be responsible for your decisions. Like you can't have somebody else make those life decisions for you.
Exactly.
You need to be responsible for that, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's true. So leaving or being basically having that experience of coming out of college and there being nothing, and you're just like, okay, well, I literally have to figure this out. And it's me. It's only me. That was it's almost like a pressure cooker where it's really uncomfortable, but unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you see it, that is what is going to make you the type of person who can really make this work. So yeah, I had to, at the time, that's when I found Student Studio, the school in Montreal, and it still exists. And I'm teaching there. Yeah, you should teach a class, right? Yeah, plug. Are we allowed to do that, Nick? Okay.
I don't think the school's going to say no.
You can't do that. Not without our permission.
You can't plug the
Studio's
school.
Awesome. But basically, I was like, okay, I'll have this part-time job. I'll take, at the time it was there was these night classes. They'd be like 3 hours long, and they were taught by industry professionals. That was huge.
That's a big thing. People that are
huge. Working in the industry.
Yeah, who would have thought? I don't know why it's
Who
funny.
would have thought that worked?
So yeah, I met actually one of my good friends, my first teacher I ever met. Shout out Fred Bennett.
He was good.
You're the man. You're really good at guitar.
I had him as a teacher as well. He's good.
He's really nice.
He's really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love you, Fred. Yeah, I had him as my first teacher, and wow, like it kind of like, I'll say this. No, I mean it. It blew my pants off. I was like, what?
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was really mesmerizing actually having the chance to be around industry professionals, and also it being my choice. Like I'm like, oh, you know what? I really need to get this concept art job. I was like, at the time, you know what? This graphic design job, it gives me quote unquote experience. I thought at the time, not really sure. It gives me the type of experience I really needed.
Yep.
But these part-time classes were the ticket in my, at the time, what I thought was to get to my goal. Yeah, words. And yeah, so by the way, what any comments on your end? It's been a long monologue. So
no, you're good. I interrupted many times. You're good. Keep going. Finish it up. Bring it home.
All right, we're bringing it home.
Yeah.
Still a bit of meat to go. There's a lot of little, but this is the long one. This is the long origin story.
We're at the what is it like? We're at the later arc. We're at Sin Studio. That's a big arc.
Yeah, it's a huge arc.
That's like Wano in One Piece. For anybody who watches One Piece, that's
I don't even know. I don't even know
you're
what that
coming
is.
up to.
I'm
okay.
coming up to it.
Any One Piece nerds out here? Okay, you know what Wano is. You are.
I want to know what that is.
What arc are you at?
Sorry?
What arc are you at?
I'm finishing Dressrosa.
Dressrosa. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
it's intense.
Yeah. If there's any One Piece out there, you kind of know what we're talking about. If not, well, you know,
sorry for wasting your time.
Yeah. Like, you know, you have hundreds of episodes to watch. Like, get started. Why are you listening to us?
Take a year off.
They're at like over 1,000 episodes. It's insane. Like it's
a lot.
Yeah, it's not. It's good, but it's insane.
It's worth it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Yes. To all you tippy toers, you're like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, just jump in the anime boat. It's a great boat.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, just jump in the whole boat. Haikyuu, Demon Slayer, Naruto, Dragon Ball.
I like this tangent, by the way.
Oh, that's a good tangent. We're gonna do an episode
on anime.
We'll do an episode on anime for sure. That'll be later, but yeah, for sure.
We called like the Weeb episode with Nick and Sean. Well, we're on anime t-shirts because we have anime t-shirts, right?
We do. I have a anime t-shirt for anybody who's seen Chainsaw Man. Fantastic show as well. The same team that did Jujutsu Kaisen. Again, I'm just like a big nerd to this stuff, but the little one with the little Pochita with the little chainsaw.
Yes, Pochita shirt.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And you got the big bad, right, from Jujutsu on yours?
The who?
Sukuna?
Oh, Sukuna, yeah. The Sukuna shirt.
Yeah.
We'll get to it, guys.
Yeah, we'll get to it. That was our anime tangent for for all you anime nerds.
It's coming.
Us. Yeah, it's coming for sure. Okay, keep going. Where were we at again?
Back to the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically meeting my first teacher and being exposed to talent. Like, this is what you have to become like to get a job. For me, that was a huge wake-up call because at least, like, let's tie this back to actually being the best at art kind of kid. Even in my college, I felt like pretty strong when it came to maybe polish or certain rendering. When I was like actually doubling down on, okay, I really need to make it in concept art, I had to basically go to a school where you're with all the people. And I use this term lightly. It's you're kind of competing in a sense. You know, you all want the same job. If a job offer comes up and there's like 20 of you, technically you're competing. I don't want to make it like it's only a competition, but you are. So I was like, oh my God, like there's so many people here that are really good. And I remember being in like one class, I was in an interior design class, and I was freaking out because I don't know if you've ever tried to do an interior for the first time. It's a nightmare.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just
I was that weird person that was like, I prefer interiors to exteriors. And
yeah, you're a savage.
The teacher was like, I had Donglu, and she was like, but most people prefer exteriors to, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was weird.
Even I find it still weird.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Interiors, they make sense. 4 walls, easy peasy. Actually, technically,
yes, you heard
more
it
than
here, folks. 4 walls, easy
There's
peasy.
technically more. There's the floor, the ceiling, and you have 3,
and a bunch of items
walls,
and million materials.
You know, I don't even know what a cube looks like anymore, apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah. 4 walls, easy peasy. You heard it here.
Yep. I want that quote on my wall.
Yeah.
Whenever I have an interior.
Not even an accurate room.
4 walls, easy peasy.
Okay, sorry. I keep interrupting you, Sin Studio.
No, it's okay. This is a funny episode. Yeah. So being in Sin Studio, being around people and this is a huge learning step for me, having to make sense of, wow, everyone else is better than me.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that. You have to swallow that pill.
It was a tough one because if you're the art kid,
you got that pill like, later than me.
Sorry?
I got that pill much earlier. You got it much later.
Yeah, I got it later. I was like born as the art kid. So for me, it was like, oh my God, everyone's better than me. Oh, it was tough because it helped me, but we'll get into it actually later. There's a reason. There's another arc.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically I was under this tension. I was like, wow, like people are way better than me. I need to do something about this.
That doesn't go away. People are always going to be better than you. That's the thing, right? Like that, I think that feeling doesn't go away. Like, because even now, you know, we've gotten a lot better. We've improved.
Yeah.
but we still like open art station, and it's just like, excuse me, this person did
Every
what
day.
now? Every day. You're like, what?
If you want to be like, if you want to have that feeling of, oh my God, any day, just open art station. You'll find it.
It doesn't go away. You kind of just have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something maybe we can explore later on
Yeah.
is how do you relate to the fact? Because it really is a fact of becoming concept artists. People will be better than you. Like it will, it's almost always the case because are you ever the best?
Unless you're those people that are at the top. But
What's that supposed to
I
mean?
don't know, Craig Mullen.
Yeah, but it's weird. Like, anyways, that we're gonna tangent into something else.
We're gonna tangent so far away. Yeah, let's just keep going with the story.
So that fact, everyone's better than me. Man, that one, I don't think I got over that one until maybe I got my job and I kind of like relaxed a bit.
Yeah.
But going back to my origin story, I was like, holy shit, like I need to like find out how to get good, and I need to do it now because like there's so many people who are amazing. There's the people I looked up to, and actually I'd like to thank Mr. Eitanzana personally for becoming that inspiration for me personally for becoming an environment artist. I took your mentorship. I'm like talking to Eitanzana right now.
He's not here.
Where are you, Eitan?
So just for clarification, Sean here, huge fan of Eitan.
Yes.
And as we've just experienced here, he sees visions of Eitan apparently that's in this room.
The ghost
I don't see it.
Eitan passed?
I don't see Eitan's not in this room, but like it seems that Sean is talking to the ghost of Eitan right here, apparently. So
He still blesses me with juicy shapes and lighting. Where?
You're like talking
Such a funny
directly at him as
episode.
if he's right here.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
love
God.
that. That's so
Well, I'm
funny.
sorry, Eitan, if you're watching this, but yeah, that just happened. Yeah, you're awesome. So, returning to the topic, finding all these basically inspirations, which were good and bad. The bad being like, oh my God, you suck. You need to get better. Like, look at this. Oh my God, type of guy. That was for me the pressure, the fire that I chose to use to get better. And so I guess we can get a little more technical now. So if you're listening to this and you're in that stage, you're like, man, I'm surrounded by insane artists and I really need to get better. For me, I'm not saying you should do this, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice everything.
Yeah. We talked a bit about it before the podcast. We talked a little bit about that. We see it a little bit differently, I'd say. Like we both did similar things. Like we did the same thing. I think we got to the same conclusion. But we view that conclusion a little bit differently, I would say.
Yes.
You and me see it in a different way. You see it as a really good thing, and I see it maybe that it was a necessity, but it was kind of unhealthy from my perspective. But we'll get into it. When I tell my story, we'll get there too. But
I think you're definitely right. When let's say you get from one island to another in one piece.
yeah, we're still on the One Piece.
No, but what gets you to one island to the next may not be a good strategy to get to the next island. So for me, that worked, but we'll get into it. Actually,
we'll get into it. We'll get my origin story done of how I became, Batman, and then
how you.
No, we're not doing bone breaking Pokemons, please. That's gonna give me nightmares tonight. Please no.
Pikachu just going.
No. So disgusting. Okay, continue the origin
We have to
story.
do fan art of this. Like,
No, please no.
we can hire some animators.
I don't know.
Okay, so. Sorry, what was I saying?
You thanked Eitan, and then you talked about
the
technicality of sacrificing. Yeah,
sacrificing everything.
Yeah.
I made a. It was almost like I took all these feelings I had. I was just like, you know what? It's all about making sure that I achieve my goal. It's like I made it like this iron path. I was like, we're going that way. We're doing it.
You're doing it.
It's like it's a no plan B.
What was the goal?
I want to be fucking dope at art.
It's a good goal.
Yeah. It's like getting a job was a part of it, but I knew that the job was a byproduct of getting really, really, really good results.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, what do these guys do? That was how I saw it. So it led me down a very, very, I'm not sure if this is the right word to use.
It's okay. We can use the wrong word.
I would say with passion. There you go. With passion. It led me with passion to.
That was the wrong word, by the way. Unacceptable.
I was gonna say relentless or some brutal word or something. With passion led me to really find out like what I needed to do to become, quote unquote, a really good artist. Yeah. And part of it was going down the road of understanding what makes art good, and really going down the route of understanding principles.
Yeah. Can you actually improve that? The ability to see what makes art good?
100%.
We're going to talk about that in the future.
1,000,000%, Nick.
Are we talking about that in a future episode?
We will, of course. We'll talk about principles and what it means to, see a principle and level up in that area of art, for sure.
Just like a quick general tangent, just for people. Something that we experience doing art and constantly kind of working at it, having that feeling of sucking, trying to improve. We've kind of realized that art is something, it's kind of like a taste that you develop, your eye for design and color, composition, all these things. It's not something that you can inherently tell right away, like, oh, I'm doing it good. It evolves like a lot. You'd be surprised how much you'll look at what you were doing before or what you liked before and like, oh, I used to like that. And it's like your tastes really, really do change and kind of get more refined, and you learn more about what makes something look appealing. Like, why does this work in that movie? Why does this work in this game?
Yep.
So we'll make an episode about that, but just for clarification, that's what we're talking about when we mention that. So that's what we kind of mean.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like the basic fundamentals of anything. Any sort of, I would say anything in life, but just to be frank, like if you play soccer, you're going to have to know how to kick a ball really well. And there's thousands of levels of doing that. So how I saw it was, how do I understand what the pros know about kicking the ball in the best way I can? So
it's going to be a lot different than what a high schooler knows about kicking a ball.
Yes, but it's a different way of seeing it too.
Because I don't play soccer.
Definitely. Well, it's also a different way of seeing it, because some people are like, okay, how do I just get good? And then it might turn them in a different direction than trying to find out the deep underlying, almost like bedrock fundamentals that might not be easy to see. Yeah. But if you target them, then you can train them. Yeah. So I'm more talking about that. I think we could talk about it more later, but that's basically what I found out. It was like reading all these books like Andrew Loomis, Creative Illustration, as well as Framed Ink, Color and Light. All these books, How to Draw, they're all targeting a really, really deep fundamental and training it. Yeah. And when you see, let's say that your inspiration online, the artist that got you in this in the first place, for me, it evolved, but it was really Eitan Zen. It was Jamie Jones, Craig Mullins, all the art that the Naughty Dog guys were doing. I was perplexed. I couldn't understand. When you're at a certain level and you look at really good art that you love, you don't understand really what's going on, and it freaks you out. Yeah. I don't know about you.
It's because the level is just like the gap of like your knowledge and their knowledge is so wide. So it's really hard to understand all the rules, all the fundamentals that are applying. The more you learn, the more you improve. You start understanding a lot more of kind of like the theory that's happening in their head, like what they're thinking about in composition, how they're using this tree to kind of lead the eye towards the focal point. Like when you learn all these things, you kind of like, you get it. You see the magic that they're doing.
It's not magic. That's a great example.
It's not magic.
It's not a magic trick anymore, because what makes a magic trick so amazing is you have no idea how it was done.
Exactly.
When you learn principles and techniques, I would say, it's not a magic trick anymore. So then it's not this crazy thing that's unattainable, and it takes the pressure off a lot. I find
it starts looking more like you're just seeing somebody that's just really, really skilled and technical with their craft, and like you can start dissecting that and learning from it once you start seeing it a lot better and clearer.
Exactly. So. And great point. I guess we'll segue into like what you can do about it.
Yeah. Because or do you want my origin story first before we start getting to the later parts?
How are you feeling about it? You want to jump
Let's
to yours?
get the origin stories out of the way, the early parts, and
All right, yeah, let's do it.
do you want anything to finish with your origin story?
Yeah, I'll just lead up to when I got my job, basically.
Sure, let's do that.
So I basically targeted the fundamentals. I wanted to know everything about what made lighting work. I was like, okay, why is there compositions? Why is it the juice? You know, at the time I was obsessed with the juice. So
The juice
thank you,
brush.
Naughty Dog guys, for that. It's like, how do they get this result? I would be reading the books on the fundamentals because I found the juice in other work, like Edgar Payne, an amazing landscape painter.
Yeah.
He kind of made the juice a long time ago.
Leyendecker nuts.
Leyendecker. I studied a lot of Andrew Loomis because these guys had that. It's like that finesse that you can just feel in their work.
Yeah.
And it feels really good. I can't describe it.
Juice.
I tried to basically go in any direction to find the knowledge to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, some things you can do to do that is first know that you can find these principles. You know, there's when you look at something, you're like, that's amazing. There's things that are leading the person that's making that to be able to make that. So know that, and then find the road that artist went down to do that. And so in this case, for environments, I need to learn how to plan my compositions out.
Yeah.
Like what makes a good graphic composition. Won't go into too much detail, but the building blocks were pretty simple. Like, okay, well, how do value structures work? What makes a really good
what is a value
epic
structure?
What is a value structure?
Yeah, for people that might not know what value structure is.
Yeah, a value structure is an arrangement, I would say, of light to dark masses of tone.
Yeah.
And you
From
are
white to black and anything in between.
exactly like, so you have all your range of white to black. It's not based on line. A value structure is basically like what the light would produce if you're trying to paint something.
If you were to take out the color, like imagine if you were to take the color out of life, like whatever you're looking at, imagine color didn't exist. It would just be those gray tones, right? Because every color has like a certain value to it, a certain kind of like gray tone if you were to take out the color, I guess in like a very simplistic way to explain it.
Yeah.
So being able to understand that without having to worry about color theory and all these things, understanding your value structure for your piece early on is like a very good thing to solve.
Yeah, it's huge. We'll actually show you a picture right now of value structure. Basically, you have like this sort of template of what a final picture could be.
Yeah.
And it maps out where your darks, where your lights, where your midtones are. And I guess you call it a structure because it essentially is the foundation of what you put your details on, all the fancy stuff. So it's like the bones of the painting, if you think about it like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Whew, I'm gonna grab a sip of water.
I keep interrupting.
No, it's great. I really like to, talk about this stuff.
You were talking
Sip of
about
wawa.
you were talking about starting your piece. You had what? Composition, value structure. What else?
Yeah. So hunting down the principles, basically. Yeah, I would say I kept doing that, and part of doing that was kind of relentlessly making a plan to practice in the right way. That's a huge thing that led me to get the skills or get the results I wanted.
Yeah.
Is really sacrificing a lot of the things that some people don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that would include video games, partying.
What?
You know what I mean?
Sacrifice video games?
Yeah, I'm playing no games. I felt it was a waste of time. I was like, I need to draw.
I feel targeted. I feel targeted.
I mean, if you played games while you were studying, I applaud you.
I didn't play much, but I feel
there
targeted.
You go.
I feel targeted.
Yeah, it's like I knew I had so much work to do. I had to omit as much as I could. I remember when I was eating breakfast, if I didn't have a sketchbook beside me to practice, I don't know, shapes or studying something, I felt guilt. I was like, I need to be doing something. I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
So it was really, I think I took it to a little extreme. So I don't think you guys need to be that crazy, but
16 hours a day, do it. It's perfectly healthy.
Man, I think it was for like three to 4 years nonstop. I did that. But yeah, making the plan, it's like really taking in your own hands, making the plan, targeting the principles, and getting the help you need.
Yeah.
So I think I'll end it on getting the help you need, and then we'll go to yours, and maybe we can wrap up like maybe the end stages of
Sure.
you know, making that big break
Sure.
into the industry.
Yeah.
So getting the help I need was, basically finding mentors. Like in my case, I was really privileged to be recommended in Tanzana's mentorship.
But you weren't taught by me? What? I thought I was your mentor.
Oh man, this is awkward.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh damn. Yeah, you mentored me like through the something verse, you know. I didn't know it, but you were mentoring me.
The Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly. The concept verse.
Yeah, that's what it is, concept verse.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, I got into concept art after Sean, so it would have been physically impossible for me to mentor him.
It'd have to be some multi-dimensional
Just for context for that,
mentoring.
in case it wasn't clear.
Yeah. Man, it's so easy to tangent with such a long story.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting where I was.
You know, it's kind of ironic. We're doing so many tangents, yet we avoid them so much in our work.
Yay!
By the way, clear again, tangent
what a
for
silly
what a
art joke. What a
silly
what a great art joke, Nick.
Okay,
Thank you.
So we have something called tangents in art. So essentially, if you have like, keep it super simple. If let's say you had two skyscrapers and they're doing these like straight lines in your pieces and they're really close together, there's a gap, but like barely, that's a tangent. It creates like this kind of strain for your eyes. It could also be like a leaf here
I'll show you examples
pointing
too.
to like, yeah, we'll show you example, but like a leaf, let's say, is like pointing to my head and the point is like touching but not passing over my head or something. Like it's creating like this point of tangency where two edges are kind of meeting together, and it's very irritating to look at. So we have to try to avoid doing those because they're not pleasing, but it's just funny because we're doing so many tangents in the podcast
and irritating.
and we try to avoid them so much at work. So
exactly, you want your image to kind of feel natural, and tangents produce a very distracting and unnatural feeling for some reason, funny enough. Yeah, so remove tangent.
Remove tangent.
The help you need. Yeah, finding mentors. And I thank Tanzana for, you know, having me on your mentorship. It's amazing. Finding amazing teachers, really listening to them, which was great. You know, having great relationships with the teachers is also an amazing way. That's kind of how I got my job. Like I was kind of really lucky to be brought under their wing and getting my first job at Warner Brothers. So having good relationships with people that help you is huge. That really helped me. And I would say the other thing would be, finding the resources on your own when you're not in class. For me, that was, I would say, a huge chunk of my improvement is going and hunting down the principles through the artists you like finding their tutorials, really going to like finding how the butter's made, you know, like don't go to the guy who makes like, I don't know.
I don't know where you're going with this
like
analogy.
Salad. Find if you like this butter, go find the guy who's churning that butter pot. Like
you heard it here. Don't go to the person who makes salad. Go to the person who's making butter.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
It's
probably the weirdest episode.
Analogy.
Yeah.
I love it.
So for the butter churners at the time were the Naughty Dog guys and Shaddy and everyone. So I just was like looking at their tutorials and just like literally like trying to figure out what they were doing and just spending my time really focusing on like what those principles were. Yeah, let's go to your origin story. I think we can.
My origin story.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, well,
meet at the end.
I was afraid of bats. Okay, anyway, I'm not.
That's why you stink.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna keep doing this Batman joke, but anyways, so there's some similarities for sure. In high school, so I would draw a decent amount as a kid. I like to draw a lot as a kid, and basically I was one of those kids, right? Like they say, the one who does art, the one who dabbles in pencils.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I do like a lot of stuff in art class. I made a Wall-E lamp, and in case anybody knows who Wall-E is, one of my favorite Pixar characters, well, technically Disney now, but anyways, made a lamp with little flashlights in his eyes. My favorite thing I think I made in high school. Nothing to do with concept. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. Anyways.
This made you who you were.
It made me who I was, a Wall-E lamp.
It's within you.
So I did that. And so I drew a lot. One of my friends drew a lot as well with me in our class. He doesn't do art, but he drew a lot at the time. We both did art together. And there was like, I think one other student in the school that was like considered the art kid. But anyways, towards the end, I kind of like, you know, they put that pressure on you in high school. Like, what are you going to do with your life? You know, you need to figure it out. College is like, you know, here in Canada, at least here in Quebec, I think it's a little bit different for Ontario, and it is decently different in the States. So we have 1 year less than Ontario for high school. I think 2 years less than the United States in high school. So we go to something called college, right? So it's kind of like a 2 to 3 year in between before going to university. So we're kind of expected to know and figure out before we go to college, which we're pretty young. I think I was like 15.
You're like 15.
Yeah, I was 15 when I graduated, 14 or 15. And it's like, you're expected to figure out your life before you're going into college. And it's just like, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I like to draw. Everybody tells me I'm so talented and so good.
It's a very common trope.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I hate the word talent, and we're going to quickly touch on it.
I don't mind it, but we'll get into that.
You don't mind it. But you know that I personally hate the word talent. I'll quickly touch on it. We're going to have a video talking about talent and stuff another time where I can rant about it. But essentially, I was told by a lot of people that I was very talented, and obviously those people mean super well, right? Like, no shade to anybody in my childhood who called me talented. I love you all. It was meant with the best intentions when it was being said. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to apply to Dawson College. I'm going to go into their 3D animation program, or it was like, I think it was one of the programs with art. And they're like, you need a portfolio. No clue what a portfolio was. So I did a bunch of sketches, a bunch of drawings. They were like, you can't do fan art. So I did no fan art. And it was like the worst shit you could think of is what I did.
What did you do?
It was just, I don't remember. Like, they were like, I don't know. There was a dude with a gas mask and like a horizon line. And I was like, like, it was really bad. It was not the greatest stuff. And then I got there and people had like these oil paintings of Master Chief, even though they said no fan art, but they were like doing fantastic.
You can't stop high schoolers from doing fan art. You can't. What else are you going to do?
Gorgeous paintings of Master Chief and like stuff like that. And I looked at like my shitty sketchbook. You had to do like an exam and like a drawing, like test to get in, entrance test. It was so stressful. Obviously, I did not get accepted into this program. My art was not even close to what they needed. So, in all honesty, that kind of crushed me. So the thought process that went into my head, I wasn't really sad. It was more that I was like, oh, okay, so I guess those other people were more talented than me. So I guess that's the limit to my skill. And I was like, I guess I'll give up with art. So I gave up with art, which is kind of sad looking back, right? It's kind of sad looking back because it's like, we know now that art is not really like that. You can develop that skill and learn and improve. Mm-hmm. And obviously I did. I now work doing art, but at the time I didn't know that. I thought it was based off something you were born with. There was like a limit to it. And I just thought, you know, maybe my water bottle was only 1/8 filled and that was the limit.
You had like, 10 dexterity, 1 art or something.
Yeah, I was missing too many points in art. So
yeah.
I kind of just gave up art. I went to college. I did some other forms of art. I did like, a little bit of graphic design on my Mac, and like I was doing like those shitty tutorials, how to put a mountain with like a logo, and you'd follow the step by step, and then you'd have a mountain. It was really bad.
I remember those.
Yeah, it's like all the rage when Photoshop and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of actually learned Photoshop, was with that. But I wasn't really drawing. Like that pretty much had ended there. I'm trying to think. So I was in college for a lot. I was a terrible student.
What did you take in college? You pivoted?
Oh, I jumped around. So I decided to go into sciences because, you know, if you're not going to do art, I might as well be one of saviors of the human world and try and solve global warming.
Thing, right?
Yeah, be a scientist and solve global warming, right? So, you know, obviously my grades weren't high enough for my science classes, so I had to go to summer school, do all that fun stuff with moldy paper towel in the bathrooms. That was not fun. Summer school was
very interesting detail to mention.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm giving the 4K version here.
Yeah, every little sand grain.
Anyways, I went to college. I went into sciences, and that sucked. I think I went into business administration first. Then I switched to science and had to do like a course to catch up my grades. I ended up being on probation twice in college because I wasn't showing up to my classes.
You really didn't care about what you were doing, huh?
No, definitely not. It was not interesting for me. I think I was playing Skyrim on my laptop in one of my French classes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time. Sorry to whoever I bothered to beat the giant spider boss because I'm terrified of spiders. That was kind of uncool of me to distract you in French class.
Yeah, how dare you?
Anyways, so I also went in, by the end, I kind of knew I gave up. At that point, I went into social science where all dreams go to die. I'm just kidding. Anybody in social science?
Yeah, it's like purgatory for your life.
It's purgatory. It just, at least there was like this running kind of joke in college, just for context of why I said that usually social science was the people that didn't know what they wanted to do with their life. There's obviously exceptions to this. There's people that need to go into social science if they wanted to go into psychology and stuff like that. But it was
I had
the
no
joke.
idea that was true, actually.
Yeah, they do. If I'm not mistaken.
Sorry for saying I believe it then.
Yeah. But that was the joke in college anyways. So I did all these things, and at one point I just dropped out of college. I was just like, I don't know what I was thinking when I dropped out of college. I need to figure out something, but apparently I wasn't at college.
Like, nah, no, thank you.
I don't think my parents were too happy. That I don't think my dad was happy. Dad, if you're listening to this, remind me. I don't know if you were. I think you were a little bit upset, at least a little bit.
Maybe.
And then I worked for a year. So I had this student job at the city. I worked there for a year, and that's kind of like where my life changed. So it's one of those weird kind of series of unfortunate or fortunate events, though, depending how you look at it. So I was helping somebody move. They were moving in Point Claire, and I was like moving a mattress out of a U-Haul truck. And it was during winter, and my genius self was like, I'm going to put running shoes in the middle of winter with ice. And I slipped, dislocated my knee, and tore my ACL. I don't know why I slipped. Could have been a multitude of reasons.
Why the hell did you slip?
Why did I slip?
Why did you
I don't
slip,
know.
Man?
Definitely not because of my stupid choices, but I slipped. And yeah, so dislocated my knee. It popped out and in, tore my ACL. It was very painful. Very painful. That was some excruciating pain there. And yeah, I obviously couldn't work. It was during the winter time. I was shoveling a lot during the winter for my job, and I had to stay at home. I was in a leg brace. Couldn't do much. There was a new MMO I was really looking forward to, Skyforge. If anybody played that, it was a pretty dope game. Kind of sucked that it died. But anyways, I met somebody. So I joined a guild because, I'm a huge nerd. And I met somebody in the guild who wanted to be a concept artist. So they were doing art. Well, they were kind of doing illustration at the time. They were painting a lot. And they showed me some stuff they did for like art competitions. They did a lot of not safe for work art. That's how they were making their money in the meantime till they were able to get a job as a concept artist. And you got to make your money where you make your money. No judgment.
There's a lot of demand out there.
Yeah, there is. And yeah, so he told me about it. He showed me Shady Safadi stuff. And that's
always Shady Safadi. It's the naughty man.
The
you
naughty
guys,
dog
you
people.
Guys.
Yeah, it was the huge impact.
Got
so
us,
it showed
man.
me, if anybody knows that tutorial, it was that one with the rock on the water.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Schling.
Yeah, exactly, that one. So he showed me that video, and for context, I have ADHD, and I'm prone to doing very impulsive buys. I try to avoid that now. I'm a lot more mature, I guess. I don't know about that. But anyways, at the time, I was not good at stopping myself from doing impulsive buys. So, I did what any responsible adult would do and decided to drop $500 on my credit card for a new Wacom tablet. And I didn't even know I was going to like doing art. So that night, I ordered that medium-sized Intuos Pro, which I used, by the way, for my first job. I kept that Intuos Pro for a while. I think
it's bulletproof, that thing.
Oh yeah,
I think it lasts forever.
I mean, I did
use
have
it as a shield if you want.
It died. It died with my second job in Quebec City. Then I had to get another one around there. But man, that thing lasted. It was that thing is like armored.
Yeah, Wacoms are solid.
Yeah. So I ordered an Intuos medium-sized Intuos Pro medium-sized tablet. It was like $500. Again, very dumb choice. Don't do what I did. But it worked out. It worked out. But like,
let's get to your next part of your story.
Yeah, I just don't want to advise people to do impulsive buys like that.
Yeah,
anyway,
good point.
So I came in and I was like, I'm gonna do this properly. It clicked. I saw other people learning and like doing all this more technical stuff, and I was like, oh, like you can learn art like this. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's not magic. Like you can learn it. I was like, I'm gonna do this like right. So I'm like I'm going to draw no personal work. I'm going to just do studies. And
Wait,
learn
before you
perspective.
did that, was there any like pivotal thing that made you decide to go down this route, or was it really just like random?
Oh, it was that conversation. He showed me that tutorial, and I literally ordered it like about an hour later, and it came in like right after.
So in that moment, like what happened?
I was like, I just felt this need to do that.
Okay.
That's what it is with ADHD. You just feel like that's,
okay.
you need to do that, and you kind of just have to. So like, thank you ADHD, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for that. But like, I just felt like this is it. This was my future. I had to make sure I got like the best tablet, anyways. So it came in, I was like, I'm just going to do tutorials. I bought Gumroads, again, spent way too much money. Sorry, mom, dad, if you're listening to this, I didn't tell you about that. But anyways, so I did that, and so I started doing tutorials of like perspective. I started doing studies of like just really bad images I probably shouldn't have been doing studies of. Like it was just like really pixelated image. I didn't know what I was supposed to study, right? I was just throwing darts at the wall. I learned about 1.2.3 point perspective, and I was planning to go to Sin Studio. I did research of what schools, and I was going to start in about it was a few months at Sin Studio. I think 2 months till the semester started.
When did you know this was really something you wanted to do?
No. So the night I ordered the tablet, I looked up schools. Okay. And the next day, like it was so impulsive. Like I did everything in a span of like a day and a half.
So you just decided really suddenly.
Oh, I just did it all like in 2 days. It was like I kid you not, there was no time in between this. Like I was so obsessed for like that 2 days. Okay. I looked up schools. I ordered the tablet. The next day I called the school. I was like, this is it. The program's starting here. I'm going to take those classes. There was literally there was no time in between. Started practicing. I was doing at the time early on, it was like 2, 3, 4 hours. Then it went up to like maybe 5 or 6. I didn't do more than 6 hours, and it wasn't every day. And then I didn't really get in. There was no diploma program at the time. It was just, like you did, you pick up your classes. I did kind of like the full time where you get like 5 classes for the price of 4. So I did that, and I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, my stuff still sucked, but learned a ton. And I was kind of annoying them. I was like, it's going to be a diploma program. Like I was hearing like they were trying to work it out. I was like, you guys got to let me into that. I need to be into that. Oh my God, I want to get in. And I was like being really annoying about it. And finally, after taking, I think I took 2 or 3 semesters worth of classes with them, they announced the diploma program. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to apply to this. I'm getting into this. This is happening. And
can I cut you off?
Yeah, go ahead.
I still don't understand. Like it's like there's nothing that internally made you decide this is your life path. Like
nothing.
No,
I just obsessed over it, and I went with it. I didn't.
So you just followed the current of whatever that is.
Yeah, so that's how it feels. So with ADHD, that's how it feels. It's like you need to do this thing. You need to have the best equipment. You need to do it at like 100% or not at all. So it's like I didn't. There is no middle ground. There's no easing myself into it. It was like I had to do it. Everything. So tutorials, the best tablet. Like I couldn't stop myself, and so I just kind of threw myself in. And before you knew it, I was at Sin Studio.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there other things that you like? This you really went the full road. I'm sure other things you've quit. Is there
tons?
So why this one? Why was this one worth going the full road?
It probably wasn't, but I think at that point, my mother had helped me pay for the classes, so there was a little bit of like, there was definitely a pressure of like, I dropped out of college, like this was kind of like the last chance. If not, I'm probably doing like a job I'm not too happy with. Personally, there's nothing wrong with doing jobs that, you can do any job you want. It just personally, I wasn't interested in. So there was a lot of pressure in that sense that I felt like I had to commit to this choice. It's kind of the last one. I screwed up so much. I didn't get good grades in high school. I dropped out of like 3 different programs. Like I switched into college every time I thought this was the one, and then I didn't do it. So
it's like there was this path laid out before you. Yeah. And you're like, well, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, and I liked drawing as a kid, so it kind of renewed a little bit of that love that I had for it. Okay. So it was never something that like I hated to do, right? I liked it as a kid. Okay. So it's not like I was forcing myself to do it either. Like I did enjoy what I was doing. So I wasn't just forcing myself for the sake of doing it. Like I did enjoy my time while doing it. But it was very impulsive. And so I did those semesters at SIN, and then I was like, okay, diploma program. So I applied.
And the diploma program was a big choice because
it was 30 grand.
Yeah. So it was like
let's not dwell on the price. It was 30 grand.
Yeah, it was definitely a big decision. It was like, okay, this is the real deal.
Yeah. My parents helped me with that. It's definitely I paid part of it, but I worked off part of it. I didn't have the equity right off the bat. But yeah, it was expensive. But yeah, it was worth it in the end.
Well, it seems so.
Yeah, so it was worth it in the end, right? So anyways, so how I got into the program. So I applied to it. I was super excited. I was like, in my head, I didn't even think I would not get accepted. It wasn't even a thought. I was like, I've been annoying them to be in this program. I live 40 minutes away from the school. How could they say no to me? They know who I am. So
you had contact with them a lot.
Well, yeah, because I was there at the school
doing
at the time.
The first classes.
Yeah, the full time, those classes. So they knew me. I was always there. Just for context, there'd be one class a day, but I would be there for 6 to 8 hours, practicing all day at the school. I wanted this. That's where I met Emmanuel, by the way. And that's how I met you.
Yeah, a common friend of ours.
Yeah.
That was also training with us at the time.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about, putting in the extra effort? Because I know you're the type to really stay later, all that kind of stuff. How would you say that relates to your experience as someone trying to break in the industry? Because it's a very, very noteworthy thing that, at least because I think I was working, and I remember you being a very personable person, and you prided yourself on being there early, staying late, asking more questions. Yeah, but that was
more once I got into the diploma.
Ah, okay.
That was more, that clicked more in the diploma. I didn't really click yet because I wasn't doing 12 to 14-hour days yet. I was still I'd get there at 9, 10, sometimes at 8, and I would leave reasonably at 5 or something like that after the class was done. I wasn't there till 10 o'clock at night, right? Some classes
One
were
Piece,
at night,
you're in
but
first or second gear, but then you're gonna get
yeah. It's there was some days where it was longer. I'd get there in the morning and there was a class later at night. That did happen, but it wasn't every day. I wasn't at that point yet. That a lot of that clicked in the diploma program. So I applied to the diploma program. I never thought I wouldn't get accepted. I thought it's a done deal, right? They know me. I've annoyed the shit out of them. They have to take me. And they didn't accept me. That's twice now. I didn't get accepted into 2 programs. Damn. So that sucked. But this time I didn't give up. I was like, well, I love you, Sin Studio. You accepted me. But at the time, I was like, well, screw them. I'll figure this out myself.
At the
time. So I went and I looked up other schools and I found CGMA and they did a program. I called them up. I was ready. We had our whole 1 year planned out with CGMA. I was like, I'll let my parents know I'm going to do that instead. I didn't get accepted. Just for context, Sin Studio, first time they were doing this program, it was their first time. So there was a lot of kinks and they didn't tell me that I was on a waiting list. So I'm doing all this thing, planning it out with CGMA, but it was going to start a little later. So I called back Sin Studio. I'm like, hey, can I do a full-time semester with you guys again? Since I didn't get accepted, I'm going to go into the CGMA program. And they're like, oh, well, don't do that. And I was like, why? They're like, well, you're on the waiting list. I was like, what waiting list? And they're like, yeah, there's a waiting list to get into the program. No one told me there's a waiting list to get into the program. What do you mean? You're telling me this now? The program's starting in a month. You're telling me this now. Anyways, I got kind of lucky. It was their first time doing it. They had a lot of trouble getting visas for some people because the program was open to anybody. So from people all over the world, and some people struggled with visas. So again, I kind of feel bad for those people. That really sucks that did make it in. But I guess luckily for me, I filled one of those spots. Whether that spot was filled because I lived really close and there was no visa concerns related to me, because they told me, I think it was 2 weeks before the program started or something, or a month. It was very close to the program starting. Yeah. I'm assuming one of the big reasons for this was because there was no visa issues, right? I'm there. I was willing to do the program. I've been telling them for a year that I want to do the program. Okay. And so I got accepted in. And then the first thing they tell me getting in, which made me super stressed, but they're like, I think it was at the time the old owner of the school. He doesn't work there anymore. He doesn't own the school, but at the time there was a different owner, and he said your level is significantly lower than everybody else in the class, so you're gonna have to work extra hard to catch up. So, yeah, that stressed like the shit out of me.
Similar
so
to
much.
mine, then you're like being surrounded by basically all these better artists.
Yeah, but like the better artists didn't scare me because that clicked when I didn't get accepted after high school that there were people better than me.
Didn't scare you, okay?
Like that part didn't scare me. So because like I said, I already got that shock of like people being better. So I didn't.
How did you view it then?
That.
How did you view it?
I think I was just like, I was stressed on how I was going to catch up the time to catch up to them. So like in my head, I wasn't worried about their levels. It was more about, okay, if they're ahead of me, how do I fix that? Like, how do I create more time for myself? Okay. And so that's when it clicked. I need to be there earlier. I need to be there later. And I just need to practice more.
Well, so it's you have a very A to Z kind of approach. It's like, I just got to figure out what I need to do.
Yeah, I need to create more time for myself. How do I create more time? Stop playing video games, reduce the amount of time I see my friends. Like these were all places I could create time. And again, sorry to my friends. They were super supportive throughout this process. But yeah, like it was stuff like, there'd be Halloween parties and it's like, I used to go there, we'd drink, we'd have a good time. And it was like, I'd show up for like an hour, say hi to everybody. Cause obviously I still want to hang out with my friends. But then after that, it was like, okay, back home and practice.
It was same to me. Yeah. I feel like this is probably a really common experience for a lot of, people who are learning and a lot of people who have a job right now is that there's probably a lot of time that was being reallocated to practicing. And, I think I don't know, maybe you can tell me what you think about this, but if the goal is strong enough, it's not hard. I find.
Yeah. I think it was like hard, but like it was hard for different reasons. Like it wasn't, I think some aspects of learning art were hard where you're like hitting your head against the wall all the time, but like, it's kind of weird. So, okay. So on one end, learning concept art is hard. I don't want to say it's like super easy, but on the other end, I kind of have the notion where getting a job in concept art and learning concept art is also kind of easy. Like it's not as hard as people. Yeah. So in a weird way,
I don't agree, but okay.
I think, well, like hear out how I'm going to phrase it. Cause I don't think the path is necessarily like that hard to figure out. Like there's hardships, like you're going to struggle a lot, you're going to fail a lot. There's all these things that exist, but you're going to do that whatever you do, whether you go to be a lawyer, whether you go to do professional sport, there's going to be a lot of struggle and failure. Like it's not this thing that's like uniquely harder than other things. Like I would say it's as easy as doing other fields. You just need to put a lot of effort into it and understand that there'll be times where you're struggling and you'll feel like you can't figure this out.
Oh, all the time.
But like anything else, if you just keep practicing, you keep asking for help, you look at, what you can be doing to do better, like you can learn it. And with enough time, you will get there. Like it will be there. And in that regard, it's kind of easy, right? Like if you're able to kind of like, it's the things are there now, they're out there. Like you have all the tools to be good at concept art. Like they exist, they're out there.
Yeah.
Like it's not as like secretly hard as like sometimes people make it out to be. If you're willing to do it, like it's there. Like it's all the info's out there for you.
The opportunity is, I would say, getting more enhanced as time goes by.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, and we'll relate it back to, you being the worst student in your group, I guess it's all the other stuff, because sometimes even having all the opportunity, sometimes people make their own, blocks to that. Yeah. Maybe we can get that into that later, or maybe you can share how you had very little blocks or what blocks you overcame. Yeah. But yeah, maybe you can relate it to being the worst student and then finding your way forward. I'm going to get water, by the way. So continue your story.
Yeah. Okay. So as Sean is like leaving the frame here, I'm going to keep talking. So basically, so I decided that I'd put in more time. Like, obviously I didn't end up putting in more time than everybody. I did put in more time than some students, but some other students ended up showing early with me. And we're going to kind of link back to Sean's thing about like making those friends, making those connections, those students that started showing up early with me. Again, big shout out to Miguel, Saif, and Raj for always coming in early into the morning. I currently work with Saif. He's super awesome. And it's like those people like just added motivation. I don't think if I was the only one showing up in the morning, I don't know if I would have been able to keep that up for a year. Like it's one thing to say you're going to do it, but like to keep that fuel going, like there were days where I probably would not have shown up as early as I did, but knowing that other students were showing up as early as I was, and I was like, no, that's not okay that I'm not showing up.
You have a competitive side, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, this is something, and maybe I'd be curious to know what you viewers think about competition in art. Actually, post below if you have a sense about this. But me and Nick, like we were extremely competitive.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
I wanted to be better than people.
Yeah,
you know,
but there's a healthy way to do it, right? There's so 'cause I've talked to students about this topic because some students will view this. They're like, oh, like it makes me feel like shit if I'm being competitive. Like I feel bad. I think my stuff sucks, and it's like it's very destructive to themselves, and that's like not good. Like don't be competitive if that's the kind of personality you have and you're going to be just destructive to yourself, and that just kills all motivation and creativity. But if you're competitive and it gets the fuel going to do more art, like yeah, of course you can be competitive. Like use it to your advantage if it helps you go the distance. Like just of course you can be. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I
would ask, and I don't know if maybe you should do this later. Like actually, I'll let you decide. Do you want to keep doing your origin story, or do you want to
almost done actually?
Okay, yeah, let's finish it up.
Yeah,
let's link up our origin stories, and maybe we can go into some more stuff.
So basically, Sin Studio. So I was practicing a lot, and basically my schedule just how it was. It was 6 days a week. I was trying to do minimum around 12 hours. Sometimes it was 14. I was doing more. And Sundays was more relaxed day. By relaxed, I mean I was doing 6 hours. So I was doing half of what I was usually doing. I would catch up on some TV shows if I wanted to, just being able to at least give my mind a break. And in between semesters, I would do no art. That was basically my routine for it. So when a semester was over, there was a total of 6 of them throughout a year and a half. We'd have 2 to 3 weeks of break. I wouldn't touch my Wacom pen at all, like nothing, no exceptions to this, because I firmly believe that I would learn a lot faster if I just let the information just kind of sit and my brain absorb it. Because if you're constantly trying to shove more information, like at one point the information is not going to fit. Like you're learning too much and you just can't.
For some reason, it worked for me.
It doesn't work for me. At one point there's like a limit, and it's just like I need to just let it like sit. I need to kind of like really like understand the information I was absorbing. So that was like 2-3 weeks of breaks, no touching, no touching the Wacom pen, no touching. And then, I'd start back up again, same routine, the next semester. So that was kind of like how I did it. We had tons of classes. We were very lucky throughout that program. We had a concept artist that was there throughout the whole year and a half. His name was Thierry Doison. Insane concept artist.
He's amazing.
Look up his stuff. He's super good. And he's such a nice guy. Like I owe a lot to what happened to him. He helped me so much. There was a lot of times in the program where I freaked out and I was super embarrassed to show myself. I thought my thing was like not good enough. And he'd always be the first to just like, okay, sit down, open my piece, give me a paint over, give me feedback. And like, he was really good at that. Like I learned so much, a lot of like, the way I approached design, he was one of the big inspirations for that. So a big thank you to Thierry, and we had plenty of other really great teachers. Another shout out to Fred Rambaud, huge influence. He taught me a ton, gave fantastic feedback, and somebody I still stayed in contact with afterwards. So, there was a lot of these teachers. I even had Fred Benet, he was fantastic. So a lot of these teachers were like really influential, and they really helped a lot. Like they went the extra mile to really help us out. So that played a big role. Making all my friends in the program played a huge role. I had met Emmanuel previously in the full-time before I went to the diploma. That's how I met you. I met Alex,
Yeah, these are all concept artists that we were friends with growing up.
Yeah.
We kind of trained together.
Yeah.
And now, we're all kind of in the same circle in Montreal. And so they're working, we're working. Yeah. You can we'll actually link them up if you want in the show notes. Their stuff. You can check them out.
Yeah. And like, we still stay in contact. We give each other feedback. Like, that circle hasn't really changed now. We're constantly like helping each other grow.
That's huge. So,
yeah. in the program, we were able to develop that, and it was huge. Like I cannot stress how important it is to have people, like whether you meet people through an online community, you join a Discord, or it's people at a local art class, like that want to do the same goal as you.
Yeah.
It's so important. Like you need that stuff. It's hard early on to have that objective eye when you're looking at your stuff. Like you just don't have that skill yet. So having somebody else being able to look at your stuff and be like, that's not working. The anatomy is not working here. Like just being able to call out those mistakes so you can fix them. Like you improve so much faster. Like you need that.
It's really, really great to have like amazing teachers around you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to say a little, there is a healthy kind of, like in an anime, everyone's trying to get stronger together. Yeah. There's a healthy an anime. It's all about anime, guys. Sorry.
All about anime.
But yeah, there's something really like amazing. It's like, the relationship between like Goku and Vegeta. It's like, although actually maybe that's not the best one. Because Vegeta was like really pissed all the time.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are really
but there's others where it's like everyone is wanting to grow, and it's not that you want to be better than the people with you, but there's this we want to rise together kind of feeling. And it's a nice it's a healthy mix of, yeah, man, like he's getting really good. Damn, like I'm looking at my stuff. Wow, you know what? I feel this. Yeah. You inspired me to, kick it into overdrive, and I'm going to improve. Thank you, guy who's better than me in my group. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's like nothing better than doing a piece and you think you nailed it. And then Sean comes along and gives you feedback and it's like, oh yeah, you did really good with this, but like, you should try changing this about the composition, like adjust the lighting and make it more like this.
Restart.
And then it's like in the moment, look, I'm going to tell you right now, in the moment, it can be frustrating. It could be, and I use Sean because he's right here, but like,
brutal. I have like a reputation for this now.
He's not the only person I've ever experienced that with. Like, it's pretty common when somebody gives you feedback, especially when you're not used to it. And it's going to suck, right? Like, you're going to get this feedback. You have to change all these things about your piece that you were already happy about. But it's usually at that moment when you're like really happy about your piece and you think you got it, that somebody kind of tears it down a bit. The piece you're going to get after that when you apply that feedback is like leagues better than what you thought you could have done. Like, you're really going to improve so much. And it's like zip your mouth for a second, listen to what they're saying. You can not agree, but like, just listen like to what they're saying, absorb that information.
Yeah. Your ego does not help you in any way. Yeah. When you're trying to get like honest feedback, let's say from like a teacher or someone you really respect. I would say as long as it's someone that you really know has the knowledge that's going to help you, your ego, it's like, it doesn't really have a place.
Does not.
What I mean?
And you have to learn that early, because not only is it important when you're trying to help each other, like you don't want to be that person that can never take feedback, because then people don't want to give you feedback and that would suck.
Yeah, it's true. You're actually blocking yourself from helping yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So like, just let it happen. It can be a shitty feeling, but you're going to thank yourself the next day when you start seeing the mistakes and fix it, because you're going to have such a better piece and you're going to be such a better artist for it. And on top of that, it kind of just prepares you for getting into the industry, because
100%.
You need to be okay taking feedback.
You need to be the type of person that is not relating the piece of art that you made to any sense of like who you are as a person or, whether or not you can love yourself at all. Because that's really what I would say, becoming someone who was really, let's say, insecure about my work being criticized. Yeah. It's realizing that it really has nothing to do with how I can accept who I am deep down. And that's something that you can decide to be like, you know what, like, actually, it's more beneficial to me to say, hey, you know what, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. You showing me these issues in my painting or design, it's more beneficial to me and where I want to go than, having this sort of, belief that this painting needs to be good or else, I can't be accepted, blah, blah, blah.
And we're not perfect at it now. You know this. You've given me feedback recently.
Blindsided.
I'm still annoyed sometimes when I get feedback and I have to restart a bunch of it, but I've kind of learned to understand that that's a knee-jerk reaction. It's normal because you put a lot of effort into your piece, and that I'll know tomorrow I'm going to be super appreciative and happy about that feedback, because I'm going to love my piece so much more. It's going to be so much stronger. So like, we're not perfect at this. We still sometimes get feedback and it's like, oh, that sucks. That was the part I loved the most about it too. And it's like, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. It's like you can be in control when that happens. It's like, okay, I know I have an ego.
Yeah.
We all have an ego for sure, but I know where I want to go. So although I may have, let's say, some uncomfortable feelings come up when someone gives you feedback, you're like, you know what? It's okay. It really is okay to have those feelings go on and being like, okay, well, it does feel a little bit weird, but I know this is just going to pass and I'll have much more improvement in my life if I just, accept what's going on basically.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
exactly.
So where were you at with your story? Because a lot of things, you mentioned a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, you were becoming way more hardworking, I noticed in your story.
Yeah. And this is where I kind of saying, like, I don't think it's the healthiest thing. Like drawing 12 to 14 hours.
It's a grind, man.
Drawing 12 to 14 hours a day is not great for your wrist. One, like it's not like if you really want to do this properly and healthy, it's not the best thing for your wrist. If you're on a time crunch and you're like, I need a job at the end of this exact date, it's up to you to decide if you want those sacrifices. That is your decision. Like we talked about, you're in charge of your own boat. You make those decisions. You know the consequences related to it. It's not the best for your wrist. It's not the best for your health because sometimes I'm still eating.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but you go like ramen mode. It's like, it's quick and easy.
Yeah, I still go ramen mode as we can see, but like, you're eating junk food and you're like not sleeping as much because you're getting up early. At least for me, I had to get up early. It's like 1.5 hours of public transit I was doing, right? So it's like, you have to get up early and then it's an hour and a half back of public transit. That's 3 hours I was wasting a day in public transit. Like that adds to the time, right? So I was sleeping like 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours, sometimes 7, depends on the day. But like, it was only a temporary amount of time. That's what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was consequences of that. I'll be honest. I burnt out pretty hard after the program. Like I really did crash and I wasn't able to do personal work at home.
It happens to a lot of people who go through this, get their job, and then they're just like, they're like, it's like a really a sudden kind of, you're used to that. It's like, I don't want to say it's like going in the war. It's not a good example, but you're in a form of
Let's definitely not compare ourselves to that.
Yeah, it's like, let's say a boot camp. It's like you're in a heavy boot camp and you're like used to like, I don't know, this go, 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 go. Yeah. And now it's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the experience you're having.
Yeah.
Or we're having.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to compare art to war.
That's why I went to a boot camp, bro.
Yeah, boot camp maybe is a better comparison. Okay. Are the recordings? Do the lights just flicker? Do we want to double check the recordings?
I think it's good.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Just so for context, there is a storm outside. So if we
got a little flicker.
Yeah, if there's gonna be some weird editing, we'll know why.
Yep.
Damn, it's flickering again.
I'm gonna check the cameras. Keep talking.
Yeah, you check the cameras just in case. Yeah, so pretty much that was it. Like, I did the program for 1.5 years and met a ton of cool people that hopefully we'll have some of them on. And I graduated, got my first job at Moment Factory. I got my job. My art director was Loic.
Hey,
hopefully
Loic.
We'll get to have him on one day as well.
Mr. Loic.
After Moment Factory, after a few months of that, I was on contract. I then went to Beanox for 2 years, and now I'm back in Montreal at Virtuos.
Yeah, you made it. How did you get your first job? Because that's a really pivotal. That's like one of those things where when you are studying to do this, let's say you're like, I'm doing this, my boat is going to its concept art job. That job, it feels like you're entering like Valhalla.
Yeah, most of them came to me, I'm going to be honest with you.
Sorry?
Most of them came to me. Most of the jobs, I think actually all 3 of my jobs came to me.
Okay, but like how?
Yeah, so like with Moment Factory, they sent me an email. I was on the train and I was like super happy. With Beanox, they sent me an email and I was super happy. And with Virtuos, I got a message on LinkedIn and I was super happy.
What were the prerequisites for you getting this?
Yeah, so
these things happening, they happen, but like why?
I know, I'm being obtuse on purpose. Anyways, yeah, so there was like a vernissage or like a place where you can show off your art at the end of the program, and there was a bunch of like studios that came.
Yeah,
our teachers were there, and so I'd already known Loic a bit because he had hosted the Gathering of Masters, and he had done a talk, I think, for the program, and I'd see him around at Sin Studio. So I guess he talked, at least that's from what he's told me, he talked to them that I'd be a good fit. And so, he saw my stuff, and I guess it just spoke to him. Spoke to him. Yeah. And, I guess the rest was history.
So your work being good enough, like is there anything anyone should know about?
I guess he knew me, so I guess he knew my personality. He knew I wasn't like an asshole. Yeah. I mean, I would assume I'm not an asshole. Who knows? Maybe some people have different opinions of me. Everyone. Yeah, you can decide if I'm an asshole. But I would assume he didn't think I was like a horrible person to work with, and he thought my stuff would be a good fit. It would be good for what the job needed. And so, I ended up getting an email from them. And I ended up working there for a few months. It was by contract. It was like a 3-month contract that refreshed, and then for like another 3 months. It wasn't something long term. And throughout that point, towards the end, I got an email from Beanox. I don't know how I got that one. I would assume it's related to the vernissage because they did send out our work to studios as well. So I would assume they saw it when Sin Studio sent out packages to other studios, because they did not drive down from Quebec City to come see the vernissage. So I would assume that's how they saw my work, because I didn't apply to Beanox.
Yep.
They emailed me, but they emailed a bunch of students. So there was like 5 or 6 of us that got emailed. So I was not the only one. And I think from memory, they were planning to hire 2, but they ended up only hiring me. I was lucky.
So for me, I had to be blunt, but like, what made this possible? Like, these are things that happen, but what did you do to get this to happen?
No, I get that, but the school sent out my stuff. I didn't apply.
Why does your stuff work? Why did you get the job?
I'm going to explain. I'm about to explain why I got the job. So
how'd your work, like, what did you do to make it work?
Yeah, I'm going to explain why I got the job. Okay. So
just want to make sure, because it's like a lot of things happening. Again, I'm like, how did he get good? Like, I don't know.
For clarifications, Beanox is in Quebec City, which is a very French place. I'm bilingual. I speak both languages. The other 5 people that they were looking at for the job, I know some of them weren't as interested in moving to Quebec City because it's very French, and none of them really spoke French. So that played a big factor into me getting the job, was that the fact that I spoke French. That was like a big help.
Montreal has, for any of you who are looking to maybe move and study here, it is an increasingly more common, I would say, a hurdle, and maybe not a hurdle, but like a prerequisite to be here, is that there's more laws requiring you to speak French, and it gives you an advantage to stay here and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely that here.
So that played a huge role into me getting the job, because I saw some of the art tests that the other students did, and mine was definitely not as good as theirs. And I think there was some student that decided not to do the art test. They just didn't want to move to Quebec City, so they didn't do it. So I think it ended up like only 3 of us did the art test. So that was like a big, I think the French thing really helped me. I also, at the time, was a huge fan of Call of Duty. I'd played competitively when I was younger. And that, I guess, they were interested in that I had that gameplay experience, that I would come at it from that perspective. So like those things kind of help. So my interview played a huge role into me getting the job for that one specifically. As a moment was kind of knowing Loic, having talked with him, and seeing Beanox. They were looking at multiple people. My interview played a gigantic role in that. Like, really, the interview was a huge portion of that.
It's huge, because your work is one thing, but at the same time, being like a personable, someone that's very personable and also like shares the same values as the team that's going to hire you is really, really huge. 100%.
So it was definitely like a perfect storm kind of thing. I spoke French fluently. I loved Call of Duty, and I did a good job in my interview. And I also had somebody by the name of Sean Vo who may or may not have helped me with my art test.
Did I?
He did.
I don't think I did.
He did. You were showing me Moto for the 3D because I didn't know how to do the 3D
show
block.
You some 3D techniques.
I didn't know how to do the 3D block out for it with Moto.
You learned a few techniques.
Yeah, I knew Fusion.
Moto. Ooh.
Moto, it's a throwback.
What a program.
That's a throwback.
Yeah. I must cut you off.
Yeah.
So I need to know how you got your work good, because that's the missing link.
So it wasn't that good. I don't think it was that good.
Well, tell me what,
Okay,
because
you've
you
seen
got a
some
job.
of the students that were coming out of that program. Like there were some people that were much better than me. I was
you
just
still
lucky.
had a good work. You still had a good portfolio.
Yeah, but I was lucky because I didn't have to worry about visa problems. Like I lived there. I was also like conveniently easy to hire. There was no visa hurdle with me. I spoke both languages.
You're like an easier choice.
I was an easy like target.
That can't be the whole thing though, because I feel like you're glossing over the fact that you got really good. Like how?
The work was good enough to do the job.
Tell
but
me
like,
about that.
I definitely don't think that was like, if we're just comparing works, my work wasn't as good. Like if we're just going off of work, the other students were stronger than me. Like if I'm just trying to be honest.
Regardless of them, like you relating to the industry, how did your work get good?
How did my work get good?
We need to know because we're looking at, like, if I have to be blunt, it's like this happened, this happened. It's like, okay, well, how did you get good? You're not telling me how to get. I think people want to know how you got good.
Okay, so
hard work you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean
putting
that's
extra
not
hours.
all of it. So I was okay. So one of the things that kind of guided me in the program to getting better at art. So kind of like I had like a little recipe, I guess, or like a little kind of like Bible of what to do. One was always be uncomfortable.
Hey, that's a huge one.
Always be uncomfortable. So because I knew I had to catch up on time, well, one thing you don't want to do is stay stagnant. If you're doing something you're comfortable with, the rate of improvement's a lot slower because it's your comfort zone than something that you're not comfortable with. There's always a bigger leap in the improvement. So what I would do is the second I would either get too stuck on something and I didn't notice much improvement, or I felt it was too simple, I was starting to get into a groove for it, I would switch. I would keep jumping to make sure I was constantly uncomfortable. I never felt in my comfort zone. That had some consequences because I didn't have a workflow when I got a job, and I was also not comfortable working. That was a big flicker. You should definitely check that.
Okay, everything's good because the cameras are they're fine. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, true, because they have batteries. That's true. You're right. Yeah. I forgot about the invention of batteries.
Oh
That's true.
2024 technology.
But yeah, so like being constantly uncomfortable was a huge trait. That was like a huge guiding light for me. I wasn't. This one I realized a little bit later, and we're going to talk about this for sure in a future episode, but I wasn't afraid of failing. Like failing was okay. Like fail. Like the more mistakes you're making, the more you're learning, the faster you hit that goal, right?
Yeah.
Always ask for help, ask for feedback, and just take the ego to the side. Like, and then I don't know, I guess.
Because this seems like it greased the rail more and more in the program. Like you had these philosophies that were developed through going through this journey.
Yeah, because like working hard means nothing if you're not working right.
So it's a mix. It's like I need to target things that aren't my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And also you need to point the boat in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you could have a car, but if there's no engine in it, it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
A terrible analogy, but like
it's a weird house.
it's a terrible analogy, but like essentially you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not actually doing anything that's going to help you towards learning and improving, like that hard work is literally just getting thrown into the toilet. Like you are going to learn a bit just by mileage, but like you could do 3 hours versus 9 hours, but if that 3 hours is jam-packed with like really efficient learning exercises and constantly breaking apart your stuff, like that 3 hours is going to be more significant than that 9 hours. Now imagine if you're doing that for 12 hours, right? Like, and you're trying to make use of that time.
Yes, it's basically hard work is an illusion.
Yeah.
Because without like basically strategy, you could, get maybe like go like a mile distance. I'm trying to find the right analogy for this. Like you can get the same distance with like a 20th of the effort if your strategy's right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That is one of those things for on my end. I guess we can link our stories now. Yeah. Like, I would say the Goldilocks zone of improvement was 3 years before I got my job. That's when like really the curve started to really go up. Yeah. And that's because, we were probably taking courses doing like the 12 to 14 hour days. We'll talk about that. And then I guess we'll go into the Shogun thing. So let's talk about the juicy arc into the job for sure. So what was I saying?
You were the one talking.
What was the topic again?
The juicy arc into the job.
No, but what was the topic before?
Oh, you were saying how like there was the golden
the Goldilocks
circle, the Goldilocks circle of improvement. I think.
Oh
Is
my
what
God,
you,
I can't believe I forgot. I'm so sorry,
I think those were the
guys.
words you used: Goldilocks, circle, Bermuda Triangle.
It was like the
learning.
2-3 years before you got the job, but before that, there was a topic. What was it? Oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. This is horrible.
Oh man, you need to keep
Disaster.
track of what you're saying. You can barely remember what I say.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about like, you know, you were asking me how I did it to get my art to what it was to get my job. So like, yeah, it was just basically that. It was, at least for me, again, there wasn't somebody that told me to be uncomfortable all the time. It was things that I realized. Like I kind of, it kind of just clicked for me. Due to some lessons I learned in high school and in colleges, they kind of like, they came forward. I knew that art was something that you can learn. I got the lesson in high school that talent had nothing to do with it, at least in my eyes at the time. I got the lessons when I was struggling with math and I was failing all the time. And all of a sudden I went from failing to 90s, that I needed to stop doing exactly what the teacher said and try to understand it from my view. Like, okay,
Yeah.
here's this, but now let's do it myself and try to really break it down and internalize it. And so I ended up learning that lesson in high school at some point, and that lesson got applied to this. So like there was a lot of lessons. Like, you know, you talked about getting bullied. I got bullied a ton in high school as well. So this whole getting feedback thing, it was like, wow, like, you know, if this is bad, like, oh my God, bullying was terrible. Like it wasn't nearly as bad as getting.
Oh, you had a good like to relate it. It's like I've been through that, so it's fine that I'm going through this.
So to relate it to bullying, I was like, this feedback is fantastic. Like I know my work sucks, but like compared to being insulted all the time or beat up or anything like that, like all these lessons, like no matter how sad they are or whatever, like they somewhat kind of all came together because, you know, we're kind of just a culmination of all these lessons we've learned over time. And so I guess they'll help me out in that moment. Right. So, but yeah, I was just using what I learned throughout my life so far with the best information I had in the moment and to do those things and taking the advice from the teachers and other people and adding that into the mix. And next thing you know, I was working at some point. So it did something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I really wish I could remember because I was like hyped about what I was going to say. I was like, yeah. And then, holy shit, my brain just farted. Like, just like big, huge fart in my mind. Yeah. So I guess if I just pick a random spot between, you know, getting, let's say, really putting the pedal to the metal and getting the job, there was definitely that, you know, fire, unstoppable flame that was just like every second art kind of feeling. Yeah. There was hunting down principles. Yeah. That for me was the strategy, by the way. So when you said strategy, for me, strategy was, well, I could just, you know, try to make a better piece, or I could be like, find the exact sweet spots that I need to target. And then everything exponentially gets better faster. Yeah. And so for me as an environment artist, it was like who are the best at composition? Yeah. Like what is the best lighting? Finding out for yourself. Yeah. And that's really the taking it into your own hands, steering your own boat thing. Like you don't wait for someone else to tell you in school. Like, no, like find out like what is the best lighting? Like what is the best this, that, and then find out how to do it. Find out what the people that did it did to learn that. So that was for me was my strategy.
Like I understand that artists, like when you're looking at artists, like, you know, at the moment they might seem like, oh my God, they're insane, they're gods, whatever it is that you see them as. Gods. Understand that they're a lot of the time showing their strength on their portfolio, or the thing they love to do the most. And, you know, they're going to have weaknesses as well. Like for an example, if I'm designing a creature, I'm going to throw you on the bus for a second. If I'm designing a creature, you know, maybe I'm going to ask my buddy Edward for feedback.
No, don't ask me.
Sean, you know.
You're not throwing me under the bus.
Sean specializes in environments, does illustration, and has been recently getting into characters. So it's like, even though he's still going to give me really good feedback, his feedback won't be bad. So just for context, like if I ask him feedback on my creature stuff, it's going to be good, but it's going to be a lot more general because somebody who has a lot of detailed experience in the creature design is going to know some nuances and a lot more specific stuff that maybe Sean hadn't learned yet at that moment because he doesn't design a lot of creatures. So it doesn't mean one feedback is bad. It's just one feedback won't be as in depth and targeted as somebody who has a lot of experience in that specific genre. Yeah, you want the type.
I think this relates a lot to maybe how I give feedback because I'm known to my friend. I don't really know if I like it, but I'm known to be like
just embrace
the start over paint person. Like you don't get a paint over from me. You get a start over paint. Yep. And I think the reason why I do that is because I look at bedrock principles first whenever I look at anything. Yeah. And that's just because that's how I got good at art. Yeah. So I can't, if you're asking me for a paint over or whatever, it's how I change my view, because actually I'll relate this to a story. I was kind of the render guy. Like I love to hyper render everything. Yeah. And something that can happen to people who do that, and I don't know if you guys love rendering. There's probably render boys out there, render girls, or you know, you'll render something, but even though it's finished, like it has a lot of detail, it might it's just not as well orchestrated as, let's say, someone else who may have like the secret thing that makes all their details work and everything just comes together. Yeah. For me, like I had to really take a sobering perspective on it and be like, well, like this, crazy detail, like it's kind of like an obsession. So it's like, if I keep detailing, it'll be better. Yeah. I had to reverse engineer that and stop like if, let's say, we're making a building, I had to stop focusing on what the walls look like and start focusing on like, okay, what's the arrangement of like the pillars that are like underneath everything? Like what are the main shapes of the building? And so it was changing my my perspective. And that's what kind of, I would say, leveled me up. And to finish the story, I think a lot of artists, they'll go through big level up stages where like, they're like, oh, pretty good. And then like, all of a sudden you just make a banger, and it's just like, and usually people around you will tell you, they'll be like, damn dude, like what the hell did you do differently?
Oh
like,
yeah.
What the hell? I'm sure it's happened to you. It happened to me. I remember the exact piece too that I did. Huh?
Which one was it?
I guess we'll show it here. It's this Athena piece that I did right after, and I'm going to thank you again, that A10, thank you so much, and Shadi came to do a presentation in Montreal. It was what I did after I learned what they told us.
These names keep reappearing.
Sorry?
These names keep
reappearing. Freaking man, like I don't know what to say.
Yeah. And like if you're learning concept art right now, like we're repeating the same names. It doesn't mean you have to look at those specific names. Like those are the ones that influence us. Those were at the time, like they don't do as many like talks anymore, but at the time they were doing a lot of presentations, a lot of tutorials. It was really, you're going to have your own artists that in the moment are really big, doing a ton of presentations and they're going to influence you. There's always going to be that artist that got you into it, right? That you looked at. So it's like, you're going to have a different one. We have ours, there's like tons of them. Like Craig Mullins influenced like a generation of artists. Like it's insane. He still does. Yeah. People are still looking at Jamie Jones as well. Even Sung Choi is influencing a lot of people. Like his stuff is insane.
Yeah. These guys are amazing.
Yeah.
They're inspirations. It's great. But yeah, like this piece that I did, it was one of those decisions that you have to make if your work isn't cutting it, and you're and I would say it's a plateau. It's like you kind of something's off, but what you're doing isn't working. Yeah. I was frustrated to hell. I was like, what the hell are they doing that I don't know? And so it took going to the workshop, really taking that. Huh?
It's a brush.
It's just, I just didn't have the right brush.
You didn't have the right brush.
If only I could download it. Yeah. No, it's not a brush, guys.
It's not.
It's wisdom. It's the art wisdom. You have to find it. But basically, I went to this workshop with A10 and Shadi, and they shared the secret sauce, which was pretty much like composition and just understanding like the building blocks of good images, like really what it is. And it was like, okay, well, that's it. And a lot of it taught me restraint. It taught me, no, it's not about how much details you can fit in. It's how you can plan your image. You can plan your image and build on a good foundation. So that's something that was a bit hard, because I remember trying it and it was so unnatural to me. But this is where I knew I was in the perfect place. I was like, I found the right information. This is uncomfortable. Yeah. I need to figure this out. And it was a perfect goal. And I don't know about you, but having really good goals for each step of the journey is really important to get to a job, because art is not like other things, I feel like, because art is a very like you have to practice like 20 things at the same time, and hopefully they all connect eventually.
Yeah.
Because like, let's say if you want to be, let's say, an environment artist, it's not like I keep doing environment one by one by one. It's like, no, you'll do things where it's like, okay, well, there's lighting, and then there's thumbnails, and then there's understanding materials, there is perspective, there is different genres of environments. So you're constantly trying to make sure that everything that you're doing, like under like a wide kind of if you're looking at like horizontally, it all lines up with your path going forward.
Yeah.
And that's and this is where like really being strategic and finding the right goals to get where you want is huge. And for me, that this piece, whatever, here again, it clicked. Like the composition stuff, it clicked, and I'm just really grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, to take away from that, it's like, don't skip the fundamentals. Like good pieces are rooted in
everything.
Good fundamentals. Like really, like a lot of students want to just get to making the cool pieces, and it's like the reason those pieces are cool is because those artists have like really good fundamentals. Like they cannot be stressed enough.
Yes, it's
really
not
insane.
as fun as like the problem with fundamentals. The problem with fundamentals.
Not really a problem, but
what a weird way to say it. The problem with fundamentals is no, but it really is one of those things where sometimes it's not really appealing to tell, let's say, an artist. Let's say you're like giving advice. You're like, hey, I know you want to make this cool warrior, but trust me, just get really good at lighting a cube. Like trust me. Like,
just do it.
It'll make sense.
Yeah.
For them, they're just like, oh, man, I don't want to render a cube. Like I don't want to do that, but that is really the essence, like the true essence, the wisdom that is what makes the character piece, the warrior that the person wants to make, really good. It's this, I don't want to call it boring. It's just,
I mean, it can be boring. It can be like, if you have to paint a cube and you're like, okay, you're dealing with light direction, you're dealing with bounds light, you're dealing with ambient occlusion. You have to apply all these things to a very simple shape, a cube, like as simple as it gets. Imagine having to apply that to a spaceship, but now the spaceship is not just a matte cube. It has all these crevices and surfaces changing directions. It's part chrome, part like brass, like another like brushed metal. Like all these things are going to be different amounts of reflectiveness. Like, again, like it's never going to end. Like to get to doing that something complex, you need to understand, okay, how do I render just a simple shape, a matte shape? How do I render different types of materials? How do I render kind of like shapes put together that are going to now affect each other? Like to be able to do that spaceship, because that spaceship is so complex. It's like the same when I talk about design. It's like, yeah, you can design an environment. Yeah, you can design a character, but a character is covered in props. An environment is filled with props. If you can't design one singular cool prop, like how do you expect yourself to design a super kick-ass environment filled with like 12 of them? Like
it's true.
It's a lot to tackle, and you're being unfair to yourself. You're trying to do something that's so far out of your skill level instead of setting yourself up for success. Like just do the early work.
It's a great point. And that's something maybe is worth noting, that there is sort of like this relationship with targeted studies, like really finding out like, okay, well, if I want to make my lighting better, is there something I could do for that? But at the same time, I would say it is important also to do the finished pieces as well. So it's like this balance that you'll have to kind of learn. And at least for me, I don't know what it was like for you, but when I was learning, I think constantly challenging myself with the final pieces, being like, no, like not like what I could maybe do. It's like what would be really difficult. But I feel like if I just really found the information I can do it, I really push myself on those, and I feel like it paid a lot of dividends. But at the same time, I made sure to, on the side or through these final pieces, find out how to target, let's say, weak spots in my fundamentals. So it was constantly like the strategy was really assessing, like, you know what, I really don't have good lighting. Well, I'm gonna make my next piece target that, but at the same time be manageable. So
yeah, exactly. Like you're targeting the things you want to improve in. You're not like, I want to get better at lighting while doing a sci-fi cityscape and learning how to incorporate vehicles into it. Like you're not trying to, overload yourself with with things and learn a new 3D software just to add something to the mix. Like you're making it targeted, you're focusing, and you're going to get a lot more information from that and learn a lot more. And it's not to say you can't do fun pieces, right? Like we're talking about fundamentals. Like we weren't perfect when learning.
Yeah.
Look, I tried to skip some fundamental stuff. Like everybody's going to probably try and do that. Like we're talking from knowledge we have now looking back, but in the moment, yes, we wanted to do the cool pieces.
Do the cool thing.
We rushed to do the cool stuff. That's why we get it. That's why we're saying it now. Like, you know, there's some value. So maybe if you can't just do fundamentals only, it gets too boring. Space it out. Allow yourself to do the fun stuff, even though it's like really challenging and you might be biting off more than you can chew. Get that creativity out of your system. Make sure you're doing fundamentals on the side, and you can work on both of those at the same time. But don't neglect fundamentals.
I would recommend, both at the same time, honestly.
Yeah,
because you can be, and I think there's a term for this in, I guess, the more academic drawing circles, maybe fine art circles. It'd be like you'd either be the person who makes the fine art, or you'd be trapped in this like academic mode where you're so focused on drawing like cubes and circles and getting everything, you know, maybe drawing the figure in like the technique that it was supposed to be done in for your exercise. You're so concerned about getting all those things right, and those I would say would fall under the fundamentals route. I would say that's not the only thing you should focus on. I feel like you should always make space for the really sick drawing or painting that you want to do.
That.
Yeah, so it's not just this. Oh well, I can only do the cool pieces when I'm ready. Like, because that I think is a trap. I don't think you should only do fundamentals, because then it's like when you're gonna actually get in the ring. You know what I mean? When you're gonna actually I kind of like that analogy. It's like you can't just do pad work. You actually have to fight. You know, you have to go box someone or something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good. And I guess that'll segue, because we talked a bit about it.
One last thing, because I didn't actually say how I got my job.
You're not allowed to say how you got. Go ahead.
It's a mystery. It was done in the back alleys.
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, basically through all this work, through, you know, pushing myself, being very strategic, taking my own hands to go do these tutorials outside of school as well. I forgot to mention that. Like, I would say 70% of my learning was done by finding like the best artists, which I mentioned before at the time that I liked, and doing their tutorials and trying to match the tutorial, actually doing it fully, because if you don't do it fully, you don't get the result. So doing that, I built a small, but I would say it's like maybe 5 pieces at the time, but they were pretty high quality. I didn't have like, say, a big breadth of work. I would say that kind of got me considered for the first job I had, which was basically, I got referred by a teacher at Sin Studio, and I worked for an outsourced company, but then we landed up being, basically we took an art test and we qualified to work at Warner Brothers. And so I worked there as technically my first job. It was kind of weird because like for two places. And yeah, I think that's kind of how I got my first job. It's like, I kept asking, you know, I kept asking myself, like, what are they doing? Do it, find it. Yeah. And eventually that's for a future episode. We could find out like how to get the opportunities to come to you and like how it kind of works in our opinion. Yeah. But I was, I guess, ready for that opportunity to come, because they had to choose a bunch of us in the class. Like I think they hand selected maybe 5 people out of the 20. I was privileged enough to be in there. So yeah. So
less is more with your portfolio.
Yeah, just make sure it's good. Like just make sure it's consistently good. Yeah. That would be my advice.
If you're like, oh, I want to put this 6 piece in, and that sixth piece is worse than your other 5 piece, just leave it at 5.
Leave it out.
Yeah, don't put it in.
Put your best stuff. Make sure it's all at the same level.
Yeah. If you're working and then you want to show your sketches and your some work stuff, like that's the different thing. If you're a student and you're applying, show your best stuff, even if it's less pieces. If you're working, different story. Once you have pieces that say like God of War or Call of Duty or whatever, different story, because you're going to have posts that are just random sketches. But as long as the clients can see like professional work that you've done for other jobs, it's going to help you a ton compared to having nothing there. And you can start posting more random stuff with it if you want. And that rule kind of changes later on. But as a student, like just post your best stuff. Like
100%.
Don't overthink it. Less is more.
Yeah, less is more. Just good, consistent.
Yep.
And then if that's 3 pieces, great. At least you're not showing like a huge divide in skill. art directors and people looking, they're like, well, what happened?
Oh yeah.
So,
Because they're gonna look at your worst piece and go like, what if that's what they give me?
Yeah,
as a
like
quality level.
Yeah, exactly. Like they want to be. It's a lot about reliability. Like, can I rely on this good result, or do I have to worry about this bad? I think it's a perception thing, but yeah, essentially.
And so before we jump onto Shogun,
Yes.
Is there anything you would tell like old you, or maybe advice you'd give to people trying to become concept artists that you would change from your journey?
I would change. I actually want to add on to that. I want to ask you as well, ask myself, but like, actually I'll answer that question right now.
Yeah.
Things I would change.
Or would you give your old self feedback to do it differently?
Yeah, I think my old self, because a lot of my, like, it was a very uphill battle for me. I know some people where it wasn't as uphill and it was a bit more graceful. So the only thing I might tell myself was like, you could do this for different reasons, because at the time it really was a proving myself kind of thing. And I think it was for reasons of like, making sure that I was worthwhile. Because when I was a kid, I used to not feel like I was worthwhile at all to people in general, unless I was called a really good artist.
There you go.
So I would tell myself, hey, like, no, like you can do this for for much more loving reasons, I think, and still get the same boost, if not more. Yeah. So I would say, you know what, like, yeah, like what would be what would be the best outcome, you think? Like, really think about it. Like, what would be the best outcome from getting this job? Like, really think about it. And if I had to think about it then in my position, I'd be like, man, I could really, be creative every day.
Yeah.
What a blessing,
Yeah.
I could also think of it like, man, like I could travel and find reasons to explore the world. It'll be part of my job. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. These things weren't on my mind back in the day. It was really about, man, I if I don't get this art job, then I will be, unacceptable, unworthy, but all this kind of stuff from a long time ago. Yeah. So that's what I would tell myself. But I also want to add on, I'm gonna ask you actually. I'm gonna ask you first, like anything you'd tell yourself differently back then, and also what are you most proud of? Relating to this journey.
Yeah. So to answer what would I tell myself? I know I already told you what I would say beforehand when we were talking about the episode earlier today, but no, I actually wouldn't tell myself anything differently. One, because you don't mess with the timeline. If I go back and change the past, it's going to mess up the future.
Up? Maybe it'll make it better.
Maybe. But I've seen enough time travel movies to know that it doesn't. Yeah. But like, jokes aside, no, I'm kind of a firm believer that, you make the best decisions with the information you have. Like all 100%. Those decisions I made with all the information on the table, like that was the information I had. Like, it's always easy to go back with hindsight and say, oh, I could have done all these things. Of course I could have done all these things. I also could have done a ton of things differently, but I don't think that's kind of the point of it, right? The point of it is you're trying to make these best decisions with the current tools, the current information. And I felt like I did the best decisions in the moment. I mean, it led me here. So I feel like I did something okay along that journey. So I don't think I'd go back and say anything to my old self. I think I'd just let life play out regardless of the ups and the downs. Like, just let it go, because it all kind of culminated to this point.
Yeah.
And what was your other question you had?
What were you most proud of? Like, if you could be like, damn, you know what? You did a great job this specific moment. It could be multiple, by the way.
Multiple was proud.
It's not a usual question to answer about this.
I'm not usually proud of a ton of my work. I kind of hate most of my work.
It doesn't have to be your work, just anything you went through, anything.
Sorry, I really want to give a proper answer to this.
No stress. It really is. Yeah. I find for a lot of people, especially like I'm practicing this more as time goes on, is I feel like some of us, especially artists, we're very self-critical, very self-critical. Yeah. And that means you never acknowledge your wins ever. You never see, oh man, I did it. No, it's always, this could have been better.
Yeah.
Man, why did I do that? Etc.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm pretty proud of, like, it's gonna sound super cheesy, but like I'm pretty proud of all the friends I made. I think that's pretty dope. I don't know.
No,
like,
I'm not laughing in your face.
but
Just
no,
funny the way
like
you said it.
seriously, like, coming from like a background where I got bullied a lot as a kid and I didn't really have friends, that means a lot to me, right? So like, being able to have like that network of friends, whether they were even like my non-artist friends, and having friends that do art that I can, share that passion with. Like, I think like, work is work. I'm going to make cooler pieces in a year, in 2 years, in 10 years. It's going to be cooler stuff. But man, like, I'm pretty lucky with the friends that I made, that I get to do art with, that I get to spend my time with. So I'd say like, yeah, if I were to pick something super sappy and super cheesy, like I'd probably go with like the power of friendship.
Because the friends you made along the way.
Yeah, the friends. By the way, anybody who watches One Piece, the One Piece is the friends you made along the way.
Of course.
That's what I'm banking my money.
Gotta get your pirate crew together.
Yeah. That's what they're hiding in the One Piece. But yeah, I mean, I guess to get sappy, it's gonna be that friendship.
That's amazing, man. That's super powerful.
I think that's a good one to pick. I mean, yeah, it's a solid one. What about you? What are you most proud of in your journey? Can't take mine. Pick something else.
Yes, like it's a powerful thing to know that, like, going down any path of mastery, and I would consider this a really difficult path of mastery. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of sacrifice that usually has to be made. Maybe not as much as before. Maybe there's better information. But yeah, you will meet a bunch of amazing people that will probably redefine your life. And like Nick has said, like, you probably, I don't know how many of your friends are concept artists. For me, like, so many of my friends, I would say the majority of my friends are the people I met through this journey. So it's, yeah, man, I died for these people. These people are amazing. I love them.
I'd say half my friends are concept art and the other half are not concept artists at all. Yeah.
You take a break from them.
I have two worlds. But yeah, they're all amazing. So then they're all supportive. So yeah. What about you though? Again, you can't pick friendship. You got to pick something else.
Proud of.
You can't pick the same one. Pick something different.
Yeah. I think, going through this journey to get my job, I would say I'm really, really proud of basically that iron fucking will. Sorry for my French. Iron will of, I'm going to get this damn job.
Yeah.
And man, there was a lot of hurdles. There was a lot of, oh my God, like, I can't figure it out. Like, just going through block after block after block after block. Year passes by. You have no idea if you're going to make it. You have no idea. And for me, it was that I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. It's like, I never let go of that. And for me, I'm super proud that I really lived that. And I know some people, they can consider, and you know what? I'm not going to impose this on everyone, but if this really speaks to you, yeah, it really, really helped me. And I'm really proud that I went down that road.
Yeah.
Regarding anything else? Yeah, I guess I'm proud of, I kind of opened up a lot when I started to be more, I was professional, or become not the person just in my my bedroom learning concept art, waking up just rolling into your seat kind of thing. Yeah. I'm really proud of the fact that, and it's still tough for me today, by the way, like, I don't know, you said you had ADHD. Yeah. Well, I have like a form of social anxiety and a bit of post-traumatic stress, that kind of stuff. So for me, I'm really proud that I want to be a more personable person. Yeah. And art has been almost like this, it's been like a lubricant for making it easier to be more social, to be more, I guess, to open up a bit more. So I'm really proud that I'm doing that, and it's not easy. I don't know if anyone else has social anxiety out there.
Nobody in this world has social anxiety except for you. No one in this world. You are the only one. You were diagnosed with it, and you were broken. Like the definition in the medical dictionary for it.
Just a picture of
social anxiety. Sean Vo, first one to ever see this issue.
It's like he was born and then it just appeared out of nowhere. Yeah. He's an anomaly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to any of you who have it, like, it's hard, and art can be a safe haven for that, because you don't have to talk to anyone and you can express yourself and you can be the interesting person that you are deep down through your art. It's an amazing feeling. But at the same time, like, I'm really happy
like that about art, because art was my abuser.
Huh?
I'm happy you feel that way about art because art was my abuser.
Oh, I got abused too. Trust me. It wasn't. I mean, it's still all. It's a wrestling.
Art's a fickle thing. And one second it's on your side, and the next thing it makes you think like you can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't get comfortable. Pretty much. But to wrap it up, yeah, I really opened up a lot, and art was something that really helped me connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's something I could bond with people about. And through doing that, and even till this day, I'm learning how to be a bit more true to who I am through that. So I'm really proud that I'm going down that road. Yeah. And it's because of this pursuit.
That's awesome. Yeah,
man.
That's a good thing.
High five. Good vibes. Oh, man.
Why are we going to make this? Why did you pick a high five in the middle of a podcast?
Because we can, because it's our podcast.
Foot five.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I guess now we do Shogun. Just a heads up on time.
We're good. We're good. We're at 2 hours and 10. We got like a solid 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Just letting you know. Okay. So, fun part, we get to talk about Shogun real quick.
Yeah, this is the visual segment. So for all you audio listeners, there will be images discussed.
Yeah.
So
like last time.
If you want to skip, you can, but if you want to tune in and look,
very descriptive to help you guys out.
Yeah, we'll do some descriptive ASMR of images. Sorry.
Shogun. Okay. We've been excited for this. We've been nerding out on it. I feel like, at least I know for me, I religiously watch it every Tuesday when the new episode comes out. It is so damn good. Like so good.
Yes.
And you usually watch it either the day after or something like that. You try to watch it when you can. So like, we're pretty excited. Like usually when we get a chance, we watch it. Like
it's a good show.
Yeah.
I'm not up to date, by the way. And by the way, for everyone, wondering if there's spoilers, we're not spoiling anything.
Well,
everything
we'll
talk
be
about
as spoiler free as possible.
There won't be any major story spoilers. It'll be describing things, but it won't impact, like, let's say, major things happening.
Yeah, it won't impact major things. We're going to try and be, like, if this image we're showing potentially can, in context, be, like, an important scene, we will try to describe nothing important about it as far as the characters go to not allude to that. So we will try to be very vague in general to not spoil anything for you. We just really want to talk about what we like. And yeah, it's been the visual kind of direction of it. So
definitely,
I guess quick synopsis what Shogun is. I think it's in the feudal period of Japan.
Yeah, Japanese feudal age.
Yeah, feudal age. I only know this because my friend corrected me when I thought it was the Edo period. And he's like, Nick, no, it's the feudal.
Actually.
So I'm really bad with history. Anyways, it's feudal, and basically this kind of like supposedly English merchant ship finally reaches land here in Japan, and it kind of has like this interesting kind of like triangle because the English have now landed for the first time in Japan. The Portuguese have already been there for a bit. And obviously there's some, there's the addition of Christianity into the mix. There's some interesting politics going on between different leaders in Japan. So all of that gets to kind of play together and mix, kind of like a feudal Game of Thrones in a way.
A lot of politics, yeah.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. Visually, it's gorgeous.
It's very, very beautiful.
You can just pause it at any time and it's like an amazing shot. Like it's really good. So yeah, I guess we're not going to say too much more. I think we're just going to get into talking about it unless you want to cover anything else.
I mean, in general, this is really, I'm the type of person who really loves anything medieval. So for me, this is an amazing show that could be something you can watch if you're into, like, say, I know people all say this all the time online. It's like Game of Thrones kind of. So
yeah,
it kind of is, but I'm coming from like Game of Thrones, Vikings, Last Kingdom.
Yeah,
I love those type of shows, and for me, this is like, it's not exactly like those shows, but it's a different. I would say it's more like, it's almost like a cultural. It's like I'm fine dining on like all the things I never knew about Japanese culture in HD.
Yeah, it like you can tell like this is very specific. They care a lot about that time period. They try to really, like, when you watch the show, it's like taking a trip back into that time period. Every little bit of it like seems to be extremely catered to the show. Nothing feels half-assed in the show. Everything feels completely on purpose and made with a sort of intent behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to start talking about a shot, or do you want me to bring?
Sure,
up
I'll get into like I guess some things I like about it. We'll talk about like what we love about the show, but also related to the visuals, because the concept art.
Exactly.
Yeah, concept art. For me, one thing I noted, I did a little research on what the cinematographers had to consider based on the showrunners, what they really wanted, and a note that they got was they wanted authenticity. Mm-hmm. They wanted something that was very genuine, and I think they really pulled it off, because there's a very good sense of being true to the culture and really showing it off in like a very sensible way. And I mean, it's kind of a typical way to do it. You put some European guy in a different country, and then you can juxtapose the cultures. So that's like kind of how they kind of did it. But at the same time, the authenticity was kind of captured through the colors, the lighting, the space, showing off how you're being immersed in these environments. Yeah. And so for me, I think the natural element of the show, the environments, like let's say like you're in a forest, all that kind of stuff, the way the light pours in the rooms, they freaking knocked it out of the park. Like I can taste the air in that show, because you have like, I know it's like an overcast, and by the way, their overcast lighting situations are amazing. Like beautiful. I love like everything. When I think of the show and when I close my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, the best overcast lighting, juicy colors. It's so good. And in all those shots, like if I put my hand on the ground, I know I can feel the wetness of the moss. I can feel the humidity in the air of each day, because sometimes, and this is what they mention a lot in the show, is that they want to capture the seasons changing. That's like a very, it's not a very stagnant environment. There's always like,
the environment's a character in the show.
It is. It's always
not just the backdrop.
Yeah, it's like almost extreme in the sense of like it's snowing, and then they're at the coast and there's raging waves, and then it's like very somber and it's very foggy. Every one of those scenes is very rich. Like they really captured nature in a really, really, really cool way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I like a lot of kind of like, the compositions are just so good, right? Like some of them can be very textbook, like, using the rule of thirds, but in general, like I've never paused it when we were looking at screenshots to grab. Like, I just never once where I paused it and I was like, this is like a bad composition. Like, it's always just so good. Like, either the light's directing your eye to the focal point, there's a body kind of framing the focal point, like just the color contrast. So you're looking at the focal point. Everything is just like good composition. Like, they know what they're doing. They know the rules and they're applying it, making every scene just like, it's easy for you. Like they're controlling where you look, like whether you know it or not. They have decided where you're going to look. They have decided the visual story you're going to get to interpret and understand from this, because words are one thing, but the image also says something else. So I guess I'm going to talk about a scene super quick. We're going to put man, I kind of wish I put names like you told me to, because now these images are so small. I think it was episode 2. Yeah, 2.2. So there's Shogun 2.2 is that I just named them by episode, and then the order of the image I took them.
But they can't see that, so
but I'm just telling for Sean, so he knows what image to click on. So essentially, just to describe the scene for the people that are listening, essentially there's this prisoner, I won't say who, just to keep it vague. They're bringing this prisoner through the forest, and this prisoner has like this almost pure white, either material or paper on their face. They can't see anything as they're being brought. Their arms are tied, and the guards get ambushed in this forest. Now, what a lot of movies would do is they'd cut. You'd see like the people like fighting with swords, cutting each other, cutting to the action, but they understand that the point of the story here is not the action. You're right now in this moment following the prisoner. So instead of like focusing on all these fights breaking out, they stay on the prisoner and just start zooming out. So as the person has no vision, all they hear is the chaos around them. all you see is them standing still with the chaos all around them. Like, you're just as confused as they are. People are getting murdered off screen. People are getting murdered coming into the screen, then running out of the screen. Everything's so chaotic, except for that one prisoner who's standing still, can't see, as stiff as all the trees in the forest.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a great
really
contrast
cool.
because it
Yeah.
adds to the storytelling.
Exactly.
Because if you want to make something look chaotic, we'll put something non-chaotic next to it.
Exactly. And
Amazing
so,
technique.
And the story would have been so watered down if they zoomed in on the action, because this scene is not about the action. It's about this character being in this situation, stuck in something they can't control, in this chaos they can't see.
Yeah, it's their point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're identifying with their,
Yeah.
I would say, what they're going through as a character in general. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, and if you look through this scene, you'll notice, again, the white compositionally pops out on their face. Everything else is a lot more dark, a lot more grim with the lighting. It's overcast. There's foliage everywhere blocking the sunlight. So this kind of like white material on the face stands out.
Yeah. If you squint, by the way, if this is a really good compositional trick, if you squint at that image that we're looking at right here, you basically see like a white dot in the middle of the screen, and it's a great sort of center point. That's like, it's almost like a fulcrum, and everything around it is like the chaos and the ensuing. Yeah.
And it's, again, just reinforcing that, no, the story is this person being stuck in the chaos, not the chaos. So it's beautifully done. Like, it's just thinking of all those things is always so well. All the characters, they're fighting lower than that person that's in prison, which is really important. They're trying to keep all the secondary characters not as high as the character that in that scene who's important for that story element. They're all crouching and running towards somebody, charging, and so it's keeping the elevation of the action low while keeping the confused person higher up. And again, contrasting.
And these are visual differences that make the storytelling more clear. That's the most important thing, is that there's these rules that the designers of these frames are basically setting out so you can understand it easier. If this person was moving the same way as everyone else, the storytelling wouldn't be as impactful.
Exactly. Right? You wouldn't get the same experience. So it's like, it might be obvious when we're pointing out, but in the moment when you're watching it, it feels so effortless. You're like, wow, this scene is just amazing. But it's so amazing because it's been crafted to be like that. Like, they did it on purpose to say, this is the story we're telling, and we're going to make everything else support that story element. And that's why it's just like every scene is kind of ends up being that same way. They just understand what they want to show, and everything else is just supporting to show that.
Yeah. Like this is where composition and understanding principles is really, really interesting, because in essence, everything is very simple, but when you shoot with a camera, you capture all like the details. But something to show the people who design these frames know is that everything is a very simple element. So when you saw that guy, the guy, he's in the middle, like here, and he's taller, it's like they're making sure that, like, this guy is probably like a rectangle, and everyone else is a shorter rectangle, and everyone else has diagonals, but he's a straight. So they're contrasting all these visual ideas to tell a story. So something to pay attention if you're a composition geek like me.
He's straight like the trees. The trees don't get a say in this chaos. They're kind of stuck there, and this character is stuck there in this chaos. Again, doesn't have a say.
Line contrast, basically.
Exactly. They're contrasting through lines, right? So this is something we see when we're creating compositions. We're thinking of that. Okay, well, this focal point is going to be a line, and everything else around it is going to be diagonal. So now there's a contrast with that. So your eye is naturally going to go towards that line because it's contrasting with everything else. It's out of place in a way to attract you.
Exactly.
What's a scene that you want to talk about?
So I'll talk about a very interesting thing that grabbed my attention right away. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, this is strange. Why is my iPad making noises? Okay, never mind. We're good. It's just like going ping, ping, ping. Something that caught my attention right away was, man, their choice of lens is very particular for like interiors, and when you're really close to people. They get really close to the faces. We'll pull up some stuff here of them doing that. And it's almost like a super wide fisheye sort of lens, because as you can see on the sides, notice that the lines are bending around the sides. And this effect, it's sort of like this weird sort of, you're there because I don't know if you've ever been stressed out, but sometimes when you're stressed out, you feel like the world around you gets bigger.
Yes.
And so I feel like there's an effect they're going for, and it's really like viscerally situating yourself in the space.
Yeah.
And so you have this weird sort of, and I'm not sure it was a bit uncomfortable for me when I first saw it, but the more that I watched it, the more I was kind of like in a trance whenever I was in these scenes, because there's always this, very intense music. It was very poetic, and you'd be like next to someone's face with these bendy lines, with the stretch of the lens. I felt like it really added that visceral element. It wasn't like say a longer lens where everything flattens out and you feel like you're a bit disconnected. This was like, no, you're like hovering beside the person's face as they're, I don't know, thinking about something or feeling something. You can really kind of get into their emotion a bit easier.
Yeah. I think I can bring up one more scene and then maybe we kind of close it up.
Sure, yeah. Let's go through the main sauce and
there was a scene I thought could be a good thing to talk about lighting a bit. It was, I think it's Shogun 1.7. Open that image.
Sure.
So this really cool scene. Again, I'm not going to really describe the characters involved in this scene, just to not keep any story spoilers out of this. But essentially, there's people in this room. There's I think like 3 people in this room, and it's like, actually no, this is the wrong image. I'm so dumb.
No stress.
Trying to find it. It's so hard. I'm looking at little tiny thumbnails. Like,
you gotta get an iPad, bro.
Yeah, I do have an iPad. I just didn't bring it with me. Oh my god, where's this one? I know it was.
I guess I can continue while you're looking for.
Yes, please.
I can continue some notes that I found with the lighting.
Please do.
So they want to go for authenticity. Something I noticed that was really cool is the color palettes are very, very well crafted. Like something that they I think they mentioned, I saw it, I read a bit, is that they try to avoid Hollywoodizing the way that things were graded, the colors that were showing up. I find there's a lot of really naturalistic tones here. And it almost reminds me of the colors I get on my Fuji camera. It's sort of like a weird, like it gives you colors that you don't expect, and it has a sort of vintage effect, but it in a sense makes what you're shooting a bit more alive. And so I find, especially with the nature shots, like I'll pull up one right now. Let's go find one. Sorry, guys. This one. This is one of the spoiler images.
Show it to me.
They showed.
Oh yeah.
Like the tones you're getting very like rich tones, but at the same time, like you can feel like there's a slight, I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of a vintage aspect to a lot of the shots where, like, yes, there's a filtery effect, but it feels like it adds a lot of richness and realism into it. It's not like a lot of the movies where it's like heavy orange and teal. It's like it's like very distinctly like Hollywoody. This feels very naturalistic, which is really nice.
It feels believable tones.
Yeah. It really captures nature well too. I really love their decision to do that.
Oh yeah, it's again gorgeous. The image I was thinking of is actually Shogun 3.1.
Okay.
Let's go to that. So basically, for again, no specific story stuff, there's just 3 people in this room, and it's important to the lighting I want to talk about. So essentially, right now it's kind of like early morning before the sun's going to break and come up. And it's really interesting because right now it's a little bit more somber, right? Because the sun's not out yet. It's a little bit more dreary. And so it's a very tense moment in this room. They're talking about something serious, and the lighting is tense in that regards. It's not a happy lighting. The sun hasn't broken yet. And so that color choice, that lighting choice is affecting the story choice. And essentially what ends up happening is that once the kind of like tension gets like put away, the sun breaks at the same time once the tension has been resolved. And so it's like, again, beautifully crafted. The lighting is telling the same story as what the characters are saying and what the characters are doing. And because it's not just enough for a character to say and do something. That's why it's like story writing is very important, but visuals are also important because visuals enforce that element of storytelling, right? They add onto it.
One of the rules that every filmmaker needs to know is that you can't, you want to have to not have to tell, sorry, brain, dude. It's been like 2.5 hours. You want to make it obvious what's happening just when someone's looking at the shot. Even if you cut the audio, it should still feel obvious, like what's going on. How should I feel about this? Everything, and where should my eye go? Like all of the visual principles are basically being used. Yeah. And in this case, darkness, contrast, like putting your face there, and also the lighting thing you mentioned. Yeah. Everything's being orchestrated to tell that story. Exactly. And so you don't have to work. You don't have to like be like, oh, what should I feel right now? No, it's super well crafted. Yeah. It's exactly what they intended. And that's basically them doing their jobs really well. Exactly. Yeah. And every scene is like that. That's the thing. This is not like, we're not picking specific scenes that were, I don't know, outliers. Like the whole show's like this. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think, I mean, not to throw shade at you, but every show is doing that because it's a base requirement, or else a show doesn't work. I'm not going to name any shows, but there are shows that are not doing that. No, I mean, I don't want to be that guy. It's just, it definitely, like, every show does have to do that, or else it can't work. Yeah, like there's like, there's a level, like every show cares about, no matter what you're watching, they're going to care about composition, lighting. They're thinking about all this thing. I think it just seems like they're, like, this is just like a more elevated, I'd say, version, like kind of next level with Shogun. Like they're really, really crafting every little bit of it. Like no stone is kind of left there to chance. Definitely. Anything else? That's pretty much it. I know the alarm rang. I think we're kind of running out of time for the recordings to end. Yeah, it's about to I think we're getting gassed out. Yeah. I think the only thing I'd maybe say that really I love about the show, maybe not as much visual, but man, like Japanese culture back then is really cool. It's really cool to like be in the world, because it really feels like you're in the world. You're being like transported through like all the very, very well crafted details of what living there is like, what their what values they have, what are their rules, all that kind of stuff, like how they operate. It's really, 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 and you really feel the culture shock of the Englishman, like in the world. Like you feel like, you know, at least for me, I was able to relate in that sense that like I felt like this was foreign to me because I grew up here in Canada. So it's not, the culture is one in a way different time period, and two, it's not the same as what I experienced here in the 2000s in Canada. So it's like I felt out of place as you're kind of following this John Blackthorne fellow, the Englishman. So it's really cool how they make you feel that kind of same sensation that this character's feeling in the show, this kind of out of placeness, which is done through the language as well. They don't shy away from that. He speaks in English, but the people around him are speaking Japanese. Like you don't well, I mean, some people will understand Japanese, of course, but at least I'm not understanding Japanese, so I have to read the subtitles, and I feel a little bit out of place, and that I feel a little bit lost like him in that moment. And it's like, it's really cool. Like they didn't shy away from anything. They want you to get that experience of him being in Japan at that time. And like, it's amazing. Yeah, it's great. Like having them kind of serve you like a slow, like a 4-course meal. Yeah. It's like, oh, what's going to be next? So, I was going to make a joke, but I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah. But it's like this bad thing and this bad thing. Oh, dear, no. But you really are like discovering new delicacies in the form of, awesome stuff that happened back then. I mean, awesome to look at. Yeah. Maybe not to experience, but awesome stuff about that era. That's just really cool. Just a culture. If you love like ancient medieval stuff like me, I geek out about like how times were so different back then. There's something about people fighting with swords that's just so fascinating. So I love it. Yeah. And just for like everybody watching, I'd love to also hear, I think we both like to hear maybe some movies or games you'd like for us to talk about. We already have a list of some that we love that we'd love to talk about. I know at one point we want to do Dune. I'll do Dune. I've told you I'm a huge fan of Alan Wake. I'd like to do that at one point. But there's so many movies and shows and games out there. Like, please let us know stuff you like. We'll, if we can, we'll find the time to watch it and maybe even talk about those in future episodes. So let us know. Maybe if you've seen Shogun, let us know what you thought about that show as well. And and let us know what you thought about the episode. Like, yes, please. Feedback is fantastic. New for us. We want to know what you think. So comment away. Yeah, please. And that I think wraps it up for episode 2. Yes, sir. Yeah.